mainstream media, being called a criminal. Do you know, if I've made one sin, if I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I've broken no law, I've broken no tax law, I've taken no public money, I don't even own a motorhome, all right? And, you know, maybe I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I'm confident I'm right. We'll see where we go.
Following that by-election result, though, Conservative MP Kevin Hollinrake says it doesn't draw a line under the controversy and the questions over the money still need to be answered.
Nigel Farage must be held to the same standards as everybody else in Parliament. That's what all this is about. His choice to spend £250,000 of taxpayers' money on a by-election, a fake by-election. There'll be, if he's proven of wrongdoing, then there'll be potentially another by-election down the track. If he's not, of course, if he's exonerated, well, we can all move on, and that's what could have happened in the first place.
54 people have been treated by paramedics after wildfires tore through the West Midlands on the hottest day of the year. 19 people were taken to hospital as fires damaged homes, forced evacuations and brought parts of the region to a standstill. Fire crews say they are now making progress, but the response is expected to run for days after thousands of 999 calls and what one fire chief called extensive devastation. In Stourbridge, more than 100 firefighters tackled a blaze which started in grassland before spreading towards homes. The Prime Minister has thanked crews for putting themselves at risk to keep others safe. Rail accident investigators are at the scene of a train derailment in East Sussex, which left 2 people seriously injured and 18 others hurt. Around 150 passengers were on board the Southern service from London Victoria to Eastbourne when 3 carriages came off the track near Lewes yesterday afternoon. Passengers described a terrifying few seconds on board, hearing a loud bang before everything they say went topsy-turvy and the carriage fell onto its side. Everyone has now been evacuated and investigators are working to find out what caused the crash. More than 1 million people have signed a petition calling for PC Andrew Harper's killers to be kept in prison. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are due to be released next year, just halfway through their sentences for manslaughter. PC Harper was killed in the line of duty in 2019, being dragged behind a car as the men fled a quad bike theft. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says he is turning over every stone to try to stop their early release. While staying with that row over prison releases, a convicted killer who murdered his estranged wife will stay behind bars after the High Court has blocked his release. Glyn Razzle was jailed for life in 2003 for murdering Linda Razzle, who vanished on her way to work during their divorce. The parole board had ruled he could be freed on licence, but the Ministry of Justice challenged that decision. And now a High Court judge has quashed the ruling, saying she's not satisfied that the public would be safe if he was released. A mother who killed her 3-month-old daughter with heat from a hairdryer has been jailed for 6 years. 28-year-old Courtney Gartshaw subjected Dahlia Rose to sustained heat on her head and body at home in Aberdeenshire. Sentencing her at the High Court in Edinburgh, Judge Simon Collins called it a uniquely disturbing case and said she had committed a gross breach of the most basic duty as a parent. The court heard that Gartshaw had been drinking while looking after her baby and had used the hairdryer for up to an hour, causing severe burns. And Andy Burnham says he wants to go further in cutting business rates for high street firms. The Prime Minister's already announced support for pubs, social clubs and live music venues, but says there is still more to do. He'll meet small business owners in Devon today, promising to listen to what they need to plan for the long term. Mr Burnham says that local businesses are the beating heart of communities and wants to look more broadly at support in the budget this autumn. Those are the midday headlines for you. Next, a quick look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
11 minutes past 12, the markets for you. The pound will buy $1.3528 and €1.1707. The price of gold, £3,219, that's per ounce. And the FTSE 100's currently trading 10,766 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Well, Well, welcome back. This is Good Afternoon Britain. It's 11 minutes past 12. Now, yes, the parliamentary investigation into this £5 million gift that Nigel Farage received has resumed automatically following his re-election as MP for Clacton.
Well, the Reform UK leader won over 22,000 votes, beating his main opponent, Count Binface.
Well, the Labour Party chair, Bridget Phillipson, has spoken to GB News and she says he shouldn't be celebrating just yet.
Well, of course, Nigel Farage only wanted this by-election in order to distract and deflect from the many, many questions that are piling up, whether that's the £5 million dodgy gift or his connections to a convicted fraudster. You know, Reform are just engulfed in all of this sleaze and this scandal. And now the by-election's out of the way, I look forward to Nigel Farage levelling with the British people and being prepared to answer some questions about all of this.
Well, it comes after Nigel Farage skips the count, with Reform claiming police advised him to stay away over a credible threat. But that's something that Essex police have denied. OK, well, let's speak to the former Labour MP and Telegraph columnist Tom Harris. Surely this election victory is a vindication that Nigel Farage has the popularity in his seat and he deserves to be an MP.
I don't think anyone's disputing his right to be an MP, and it was actually a very impressive result, I think. You know, there are some people out there, especially on social media, decrying it and undermining it. I think, you know, to increase the number of votes that you get by more than 1,000 at a time when the turnout in the constituency fell by 14%, that's actually quite impressive, even you know, notwithstanding the fact that the main party didn't stand against him. It was a good result for him. Can I just pick you up on one point you made before the break about the low number of Reform MPs who have been subject to parliamentary standards inquiries? You mentioned it's only 2 Reform MPs. You do know that that's a quarter of their parliamentary party. You know, the percentage of Labour MPs, the percentage of Conservative MPs is commensurate with the fact that they have got hundreds of MPs each. When you only have 8 MPs and 2 of them have already been brought up on charges, that doesn't speak as well of Reform as you might think.
So Tom, what does that suggest then, in your opinion?
Well, I only mentioned because you mentioned just before the break about only 2 Reform MPs, and that's true. But the fact is there are only 8 of them, and I just think if you say that there's 20 odd Labour MPs that have been up in Parliament and that's actually worse, it's not, because it's 25 MPs out of 400. And that's a lot better than having 2 out of 8. I was just making it's an arithmetic point.
Maybe this £5 million, fair enough. This £5 million gift that Nigel Farage received, that's being investigated by the Standards Committee. Nigel Farage saying this is some kind of establishment witch hunt. He says he's done absolutely nothing illegal. If he's done anything wrong, it's that maybe he didn't fill out a little piece of paper or something. Clearly, the majority of people in Clacton who voted don't care. Do you think that this is something that should be being pressed so hard?
It's very difficult for me to say from outside because, on the one hand, you know, there are parliamentary rules that say that gifts that have been accepted within a period of time before a general election must be declared, and that doesn't seem to have happened in this case. On the other hand, I think, you know, it's acceptable to be paranoid if everybody is actually out to get you, and I understand where Nigel's coming from in that respect. But let's remember, I was an MP in 2009 when the parliamentary expenses scandal happened. A lot of people went to jail. A lot of people lost their careers because they filled out a bit of paper wrongly, or because they didn't fill out a bit of paper. Let's not devalue the importance of fully declaring and full transparency when it comes to parliamentary gifts.
All right, Tom Harris, we'll have to leave it there. Really appreciate your time. Former Labour MP and Telegraph columnist. You can read his piece in the Telegraph today.
The time is 12:15 and a major incident has been declared in the West Midlands after a wildfire broke out, causing what's been described as apocalyptic scenes.
Yeah, it's believed that the fire has spread around 40 acres and multiple homes have been burnt down. Yes, charred ruins remain, forcing residents to evacuate. Indeed, residents have been told to stay away from their own homes.
Yes, and as it stands, a total of 54 patients have been treated by paramedics, of which 19 were taken to hospital as a result of wildfires, according to West Midlands Ambulance Service.
Well, GBNews national reporter Jack Carson has been on the scene for us. He's in Stourbridge. Jack, residents must be, well, horrified by what they're seeing.
Yeah, some just can't quite believe exactly what has happened here. There's still that element of shock. Certainly the work is still ongoing from the West Midlands Fire Service here. They have told us this morning they've still got 14 crews on site dealing with what they're describing as hotspots, but also monitoring those areas that they could possibly reignite. It is another boiling hot day here in Stourbridge. We're heading up towards 30 degrees as we are now at midday, and that will be concern once again for the fire service to make sure that this doesn't start again, because what we saw overnight was essentially fires starting in grassland. We don't have a cause of that fire yet. The fire investigation teams and the police are beginning their early stages of their investigations as we speak right now, so we don't have a cause of the fire, but that we do know that the fire service are working on the presumption that it started in that grassland and then spread to the houses. The local MP for Stourbridge saying that she believes it's 20 to 30 houses that have been affected. Simon Markey, who's the chairman of the golf club here, spoke to us earlier on about what he saw yesterday.
At that point, the fire looked to be a manageable size. It was spreading towards the hedgerow, but by the time we'd walked another 200 yards, it had set the hedgerow on fire, and the wind had picked up, and it was pushing the fire onto the golf course. We stayed on the golf course for about 20 minutes, and during that time, the fire took hold of the golf course and the woodland in the middle of the golf course, and it started to get really, really scary.
Yeah, so that's Simon Markey there, the chairman of the golf club. He was one of the first few people to call 999 spotting that fire, and as you heard there, the speed of it was almost impossible for the fire service to control. So there was a lot of credit for them from residents here for how quickly they're able to get this under control. We know that Angela Rayner, the Secretary for Housing and Communities and Local Government, has said today that they are working closely with the local fire rescue service and partners on the ground and are being regularly updated here in Stourbridge. Also thanking the brave emergency services and their thoughts with people who have been forced to leave their homes. People have been allowed back into their properties to gather essentials such as medication. That's what residents that we've spoken to this morning have told us. But of course, it wasn't just here in Stourbridge where we saw fires. All across the West Midlands region, the fire services were saying they were dealing with thousands of 999 calls for fires popping up spontaneously, trying to respond to them before they got out of control. This grass, as you can see around us, is just completely dry. There's been no rain here for months, and so you can very easily understand why this was able to spread so quickly. 2 people from Stourbridge here were taken to hospital by the West Midlands Ambulance Service. They have confirmed that across the entire West Midlands region, 54 patients, they say, have been treated by paramedics. 19, they say, taken to hospital as a result of these wildfires. But just to say, this morning here in Stourbridge, the West Midlands Fire Service are beginning their investigations into the cause of this fire that we saw in Stourbridge yesterday, and maintaining those areas that they could reignite, and also dealing still with hotspots here this morning.
OK, thanks, Jack Carson. Thank you for bringing us a report from Stourbridge.
Well, elsewhere, fire crews were called to a scene after a train derailed in Lewes in East Sussex yesterday.
Yeah, these 2 trains were seen lying on their side, leaving 2 people seriously injured. People have been warned to avoid the area, and Network Rail have said no timetable can be given for when the railway will be able to safely reopen. Well, very dramatic scenes indeed. GBNews reporter Isabel Fairkilak joins us from Lewes. Isabel, do we have an idea of why this happened? Is this caused by the heat wave as well?
Well, good afternoon to you both. Definitely a lot of speculation around what the cause of this was. Of course, the Rail Accident Investigation Branch are currently investigating that. They have said that it's too soon to draw to any conclusions, but certainly one of the key factors that people are speculating over is whether the heat caused the railway line to buckle, and that may have caused this accident, this major incident declared by British Transport Police, as that train overturned yesterday at around 4 p.m. It was around 36 degrees there, probably the peak of the day for the heat here in Sussex. As you said, there are 2 people seriously injured, 18 more hurt, and responders remain on the site here today. You can see some cars behind me, Network Rail, Sussex Police and the Rail Accident Investigation Branch. They're working out a way to remove the train that still lays on the track on its side. Now, this was a huge shock to the community. I spoke to a resident who lives just next to this, who said she she just heard a loud crunching sound and ran down to see what happened. Many people saying that it's a miracle no one was killed during this incident, and one person that our reporter Will Godley spoke to yesterday felt extremely lucky as he was meant to be on that train. Take a look.
So I was supposed to get on it. I was in London and I stayed behind with a friend. There was a part of me that thought I need to rush for the train, and then I thought, nope, I'm not going to. I'm just going to take my time. I'll wait for the next one. Obviously got on the next one, and then we were literally behind the train at Plumpton. Everything just stopped. We didn't know what happened at the time, and then between that time of obviously stopping and then speaking to local people, we found out that the train had actually toppled. I spoke to my partner and I thought, bloody hell, you know, like I was literally meant to be on that train, so I'm going to buy a lottery ticket tonight.
Well, all lines between Lewis and Haywards Heath are currently closed, with travellers advised to use alternative routes or replacement buses. Disruption expected until further notice, as this train remains on the tracks and it's likely to take several days to remove it.
All right, Isabel, thank you very much indeed for that report. Really shocking scenes there. The people on board must have been absolutely terrified. Just on that conversation we were having about Nigel Farage and this £5 million gift that he received, he says, you know, if I'm guilty of anything, it's not filling out a little piece of paper. Colin made a very good point. He's been in touch. He says MPs went to prison for not filling out bits of paper, but because they were falsifying expenses paid for from the national purse, from our taxes. The Farage issue has nothing to do with the national purse and was a private donation. I think that is a key point. It's not the same thing at all. I think if it had been, you know, £5 million of public money, that would be quite a different situation.
Yeah, quite possibly. It's a very polarising issue, so do keep those views coming in.
Yeah, please do get in touch on that one. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Yes, an Arabic bookshop in London has sparked fierce criticism after copies of Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf were found in the store. But should Hitler's book, autobiography, be allowed to be sold in the UK? We will be debating that.
Good after the break.
Would you live next door to Kroger or next door to a migrant camp?
Well, look, I mean, I'm in a constituency that's had asylum hotels as well.
Happy, would you, with your children?
Look, I do understand, but look, we've got to put people somewhere.
Oh, it's getting difficult for Labour MPs, isn't it? And a Labour MP has broken ranks and called plans to house migrants at a RAF base in North Yorkshire unsuitable. But they're steaming ahead with these plans, aren't they? Looking at planning laws, trying to supercharge the planning system to get more of these barracks open. All of that and more to come. Your GB News, Britain's News Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's News Channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. It's 27 minutes past 12. Now, women in a tiny Yorkshire village could soon be outnumbered 6-1 by men under plans to house asylum seekers at a former RAF base.
Well, it comes with the government plans to move around 3,750 asylum seekers into 3 disused military sites.
Well, a Labour MP has warned the plans to house 1,200 men at RAF Linton-on-Ouse are unsustainable.
Yeah, breaking ranks there. Well, Anna Riley, GB News' Yorkshire and Humber reporter, joins us from Linton-on-Ouse. Anna, what's the reaction been from local members of the community?
Good afternoon, Cameron and Emily. There's a lot of anger here, a lot of upset about these plans. We were here back in 2022 when plans initially came forth to use the RAF base as asylum seeker accommodation. That was scrapped because of the issues, but this has reared its head yet again. We can see this sign here: wrong plan, wrong place, stop the Linton-on-Ouse Asylum Centre, an open door asylum centre of 1,500 in a village of 700. And that's from the Linton-on-Ouse Action Group. The vast majority of villagers that live here, members of that group, opposed to this. They're opposed to it for several different reasons. Firstly, the infrastructure. There's just one road in and out here of the village. Just over the road, the local shop is closed. They don't have a village store. They don't have the facilities. They don't have the sewage capacity for such a big site. It's also near to a school, near to a children's playground as well. There's concerns that these undocumented men that they don't know the histories of can wander around in the village. And potentially with the ratio of 1 to 6 women, women as well are fearing for their safety. We spoke to Sir Alex Shelbrooke earlier. He's the local MP for this area. He covers Easingwold and Wetherby. He told us he is furious about these plans. Let's listen to what he said.
Well, first of all, I'd say 1,200 we've been told is the starting point, and it could be greater than that. As you will have seen when you look at this village, it is a very small rural village in the middle of the countryside, and the proposals at the moment are to double and potentially triple the number of adults. There is no village shop here. There is an intermittent bus service in being able to get to areas like York, to get to Easingwold. And so therefore, in terms of being inappropriate, it probably ticks every box. Also, the Home Secretary said that she would not house asylum seekers in hotels where there was a nursery or primary school. Well, this is just basically one big hotel because people aren't enclosed in, and there is a primary school just around the corner.
Sir Alex Shelbrooke there strongly giving his opinions. He's echoing the fact as well that there hasn't been any consultation here with villagers, no members of the Home Office coming here, seeing just how feasible this site would be for people living here. Of course, the Home Office would say that they are trying to save money, that there's millions, billions of pounds that are being spent on hotels for asylum seekers, so MOD bases like this one, HMOs, are better used than hotels. But Alex Shelbrooke telling us this would just be one giant hotel because there's access completely into the village on those limited buses as well into York, and the strain that there is on the infrastructure. Certainly there's nobody we've spoken to that is in favour of this. The local MPs, also the local Labour mayor as well, saying this is just not the right place.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if the Home Office just simply overrules their concerns. Anna Riley, GB News Yorkshire and Humber reporter from Linton on Ouse. Yes, because the government can pursue a sort of fast-track planning process where they basically say we don't need to consult the local council, we don't need to consult the local people, we're doing this and we want to do it now. So it'll be interesting to see if the council there can push back, if this kind of campaigning is going to have an impact.
Yeah, perhaps some of our listeners and viewers would rather the government spent more time focusing on how to deport these people rather than housing them in disused military bases.
Well, quite. And the question of whether these men need a brothel is an alive one, if you listen to Edwina Curry. Although I think she is raising a quite important point about what are these men going to be doing? And also the risk of potential sexual harm. But anyway, a Home Office spokesperson has said we're closing every asylum hotel and moving asylum seekers into basic accommodation, including ex-military sites.
Well, the population of asylum seekers, they say, in hotels has fallen by 35% in the last year and by 63% from the peak in 2023. Overall asylum costs have already fallen by £1 billion since the general election.
We're working to fairly disperse asylum seekers across the country, working closely with local authorities, listening to local concerns to reduce the impact on communities. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
The former Conservative minister, as we've been discussing, Edwina Curry, says the obvious thing 1,200 young male migrants are going to need in a village like Piddington is a brothel. Does she have a point? All of that and much more to come after your latest news headlines with Sam.
Thank you both. Good afternoon to you at 12:33. The headlines. Nigel Farage has won the Clacton by-election, but the parliamentary investigation that helped force him out has now been reopened. The Reform UK leader resigned as an MP after weeks of pressure over a £5 million gift from billionaire Christopher Harwood. Rail accident investigators are at the scene of a train derailment in East Sussex, which left 2 people seriously injured and 18 others hurt. Around 150 passengers were on board when the Southern service came off the tracks near Lewes yesterday. 54 people have been treated by paramedics after wildfires tore through the West Midlands on the hottest day of the year. 19 were taken to hospital as huge blazes damaged homes, forced families to flee and left firefighters facing one of the biggest incidents the region has ever seen. A petition calling on the government to stop the early release of PC Andrew Harper's killers has now hit 1 million signatures. Public pressure has been growing since it emerged Jesse Cole and Albert Bowers could be freed early under measures designed to ease overcrowding in prisons. And Andy Burnham says he wants to go further in cutting business rates for high street firms. The Prime Minister will take that message to Devon today, where he'll meet small business owners as part of his summer tour of the UK. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back at 1 o'clock with the lunchtime news.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thanks, Sam. Lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, an Arabic bookshop in central London has sparked fierce criticism after copies of Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf were found in the store. Should Hitler's book be allowed to be sold in Britain at all? We'll have that debate.
Yeah, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It is still hot and sunny in the southeast, albeit not as hot as yesterday. Elsewhere, slightly colder, fresher feel to things for sure. There's a front making its way southeastwards, albeit quite gradually and not bringing a huge amount of rain, but there is a bit more cloud mixed in because of that front that's making its way across the country. So many northern western parts of England and Wales having more cloud than yesterday, and towards the northwest there will be quite a bit of cloud as well. A few outbreaks of showery rain here and there, nothing especially heavy for the time being. As I mentioned, still hot in the southeast, but temperatures down markedly on yesterday. Nonetheless, highs of around 35, possibly 36 Celsius. Fresher feel elsewhere, especially with the cloud, less sunshine, so not feeling as hot. That's probably a good thing from many people's point of view. Into the evening, and a few showers continuing across parts of Scotland. Eastern areas, Aberdeenshire, could see some bright sunny weather perhaps, but elsewhere quite cloudy, a bit damp at times. A similar story across Northern Ireland, a few showers coming in, particularly across the west. And then across England and Wales, well, cloudier across northern and western parts, a few showery bursts of rain here and there. for the time being. But actually, as we go overnight and through the early hours of tomorrow morning, well, that's when we could see some fairly hefty showers developing across some parts of eastern England. Lincolnshire, East Anglia may be affecting London as well. They could be heavy, they could be thundery. Do watch out for some potentially fairly intense downpours. It is going to be a relatively warm night, not as oppressively warm as last night for many of us, but nonetheless, temperatures holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. And then tomorrow, still some showers across the southeast first thing, a few heavy ones perhaps, but they clear away, and most of the showers elsewhere will actually ease a little bit, albeit towards the northwest of Scotland. Some showery rain continuing to push in here. Cloudier towards the north and west, perhaps some parts in the southeast having cloud. Elsewhere, some bright sunny weather, but a fresher feel.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The M27 is closed at Junction 2 in Romsey after a fire. The M5 northbound is affected by a collision between junctions 10 and 9 in Tewkesbury. The M5 southbound has a lane closure between junctions 5 and 6. In Scotland, the M8 eastbound has 3 lanes restricted between junctions 25 and 24 at Helen St Across, Wales. The A470 from Doldowlod to Ryadair is closed. And on the trains, Thameslink has major disruption between London St Pancras International and Bedford, and between Three Bridges and Horsham. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. And a bookshop has sparked criticism for selling copies of Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf.
Yes, Arabic translations were on sale at a newly opened store around half a mile from a synagogue.
The store had only 3 copies of the title, 3 copies being the minimum quantity they ordinarily stock per title as part of their inventory, and no copies of the book had been sold.
That's what they've told us. The store has told GB News also that CCTV footage shows a visitor took the 3 copies and rearranged them side by side immediately before taking the photograph that was subsequently published.
But should this have happened, why is Mein Kampf even being sold in the United Kingdom? So the question is, should we ban Hitler's book?
Yes, well, we're joined by journalist Angela Epstein and the writer Charles Amos. Angela, so we see in this bookstore there's an Arabic translation of Mein Kampf readily available for people to buy. What are your thoughts? Do you think it should be allowed to be sold?
Absolutely not. Good afternoon to you all. It is a historical text, but it is a blueprint for genocide, for the elimination of the Jewish people specifically. And as such, it's the kind of text that shouldn't be in any way mainstreamed and just sort of be randomly sold in bookshops anywhere. We know that these weren't just the rantings of a madman. Hitler obviously wrote this book way before he came to power, but the ideas that he expressed in Mein Kampf achieved resolution through the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were slaughtered, men, women, children and babies, and of course 6 million others as well. And so we can't sort of see it in isolation as somebody who's just sort of ranted away and it was just something that somebody wrote. It can become an explicit text to motivate those that feel Jew hatred, that are anti-Semitic, obviously not to maybe commit the acts that Hitler did, but absolutely to give horsepower to anti-Semitism. I mean, the stuff in the book is very explicit, because the argument that's always thrown at you when people discuss Mein Kampf is, well, have you even looked at it? Is it just because it was Hitler? I mean, some of the things that he says that in the First World War, for example, that if poison gas had been used on thousands of Jews then, it would have prevented the sacrifice of millions of people. And we know, of course, that millions of people were gassed at Auschwitz and other concentration camps. So it is absolutely unacceptable. And the other point I would make is, what about respect for the survivors and the survivors' family? It's deeply unethical, the idea of anybody anywhere profiteering from the sale of this book. If you want to learn about Hitler, you want to learn about the Third Reich, you want to put it into context, go to the Imperial War Museum. There are thousands of documentaries, historical books that clearly chronicle the times of the Third Reich. This is not the book that should be on sale.
Charles, what do you think?
Individuals should be free to buy and read whatever books they so please, including Mein Kampf. What's next? Are we going to ban other bad books such as, Marx's writings or Plato or Rousseau? All of these people that have fed into these bad ideas, many of which Hitler had in the case of Rousseau. Look, the state should not be involved with policing what people believe. And that is what it is doing by banning Mein Kampf, or that's what it would be doing by banning Mein Kampf. People should be free to believe these terrible ideas. They should be free to read about these terrible ideas. I'm not saying they should hold them. Of course they shouldn't, but they should still be able to engage with those bad ideas if they so please. That is the essence of a free society. And I'm afraid you're opposing it. And your argument applied just as much to free speech as well. Why should we allow people to discuss these ideas, etc., etc., etc.?
OK, well, let's turn that to Angela. Do you accept that libertarian argument?
No. I mean, this was an ideological basis that formed the kind of platform for the mass extermination of Jewish people. And remember, we're talking at a time when anti-Semitism is spiralling near record highs. I understand how free speech is a central tenet of a free society and something that we should treasure, but it also comes with responsibility, and there can't be an all bets off approach to it. I'm not saying that the state should intervene with the robust exchange of ideas about political ideologies, etc. No, I'm not. Sorry, if you'd let me finish the point. This was a handbook for genocide, unequivocally, unreconstructed. You can see the consequences of this ideology. It wasn't just something that existed in a vacuum. When Hitler came to power, he prosecuted and brought to bear the final solution to the Jewish question, which led to the mass murder of Jewish people. It's there in the book. Now,
Charles, Angela, let me just bring Charles back in. Charles, are you not worried that there's demand for this book, clearly?
It's unfortunate there's demand for Mein Kampf, but just because Mein Kampf exists and read it doesn't mean people are necessarily going to go and commit genocide or necessarily going to whack Jews. People have free will. It's ultimately the Nazis that sent people to the gas chambers that are responsible, not Adolf Hitler for writing Mein Kampf. Of course, Adolf Hitler's responsible for ordering people about and actually, well, I don't know if he ever killed Jews directly.
Well, he was leader of a Nazi party.
Yeah, and
he
is
presided
responsible
over the Holocaust, and the very fact
like
that you don't understand the details means that perhaps you should go and look at some of the documentaries, some of the work by historians such as Lawrence Rees, who have clearly chronicled the rise of the Third Reich, and then you can frame your arguments, because you're arguing from a fatuous and insubstantial perspective.
Angela, do you not think that there is some arguments for Mein Kampf being available for academic and historical research to ensure that the atrocities of the Holocaust never happen again?
Yes, that's something quite different. I mean, what we're discussing is mainstreaming a book that advocates hatred, ethnic cleansing, anti-Semitism. I think in annotated and unannotated forms, if it's available in a very specific way for students of history to look at it in context so they can understand how the Third Reich came to power, how this mass extermination, this unprecedented genocide that occurred in mainland Europe by a civilized Western nation, a cultured nation, then it can be used as a historical document.
OK, Angela, let's just get a last reply from...
different.
Last reply from Charles. We haven't got long, so just a last point from Charles, if you want.
If you're going to ban books on the basis they contain bad ideas, you're going to be banning a great number of books. And you've provided no principal reason as to why we should ban Mein Kampf, but not the other books that I've mentioned at the start of this interview. Your case is a liberal.
Because the Holocaust didn't happen as a consequence of the other books you mentioned.
A liberal society does not ban books. It stands by the right of each individual to read whatever they so please.
You both put your points very clearly. Sorry, Angela, we're going to have to wrap it up there. Journalist Angela Epstein and the writer Charles Amos on that one. I think my view is that it shouldn't be banned, but I do worry as to why there's demand in this particular Arabic bookstore, or why they think there will be demand for such a book, or why someone would want to buy it.
Yes, that is concerning. Perhaps in certain contexts it should be available, but not everywhere, perhaps.
Well, Afak Bookstore told GB News our CCTV footage clearly shows that the visitor took the 3 copies, which had been stacked on top of one another, and rearranged them side by side immediately before taking the photograph that was subsequently published. The resulting photo, therefore, does not reflect how the books were actually displayed in our store.
Following the concerns raised, the copies were removed from sale out of respect for our visitors.
Well, Afak Bookstore unequivocally says they reject Nazi ideology, anti-Semitism, racism and all forms of hatred. The presence of a controversial historical book within a bookshop's collection should not be interpreted as has endorsement of its contents or ideas. Well, let us know your thoughts.
Well, the time is 12:46. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
This is a funny one. New research shows 4 in 10 men think that they could actually train their way to the 2028 Olympics. So if you started training for the 100-metre sprint, yeah, you'd make it to the Olympics, surely. Do you think you could qualify if you put your mind to it?
I'm off to a run later, actually. I need to know about you.
Yeah, maybe at the, I don't know, what's the one where you jump over everything? The steeplechase. I'll get that one, yeah.
There you go, perfect. But if you're in some search for some holiday sun for the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028, here's the forecast of some of the top European holiday destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. The hot weather is not just restricted to the UK at the moment. Much of Western Europe are under an extreme heat wave. And also some thundery downpours. Across the Canary Islands, though, it's much more reasonable temperatures in the 30s here with plenty of sunshine. Outbreaks of heavy rain affecting more higher ground parts of the Pyrenees as well as the Alps, seeing intense thunderstorms over the next few days. But more coastal areas should remain dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Music, as anybody knows, from Scotland or Ireland, it is very, very important to us all here. Most of us can lift a musical instrument, and actually there's a great children's band on stage at the minute, but I've managed to capture some people here. Where are you from?
We're from Dungannon.
And why are you here at the Fla?
We're here just for the music, the atmosphere, and just the all-round celebration. It's a very proud moment for Belfast, and it's lovely to have the children out on their summer holidays. And I have a daughter who is playing and another one who's coming along to sing.
Well, let's hear you play. What are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play in a share.
Well, go ahead.
Thank you.
The People's Channel, Tubes & Co. Weekdays from 6 p.m.
People that have lived in London have chosen to move out because they don't feel... It's not about feeling safe as much. It's about feeling that they don't recognise London as the capital city of England anymore.
Well, I can't answer for those people. I mean, I think, you know, there are places all over the country that change. You know, there is a constant churn. There are parts of London that were once terribly, you know, poverty-stricken and that are now gentrified and are full of completely different places, to the point that local people, local communities have been squeezed out. There are places, you know, which have changed because the demographic changes. But, I mean, that happens everywhere.
You can say that about Bradford, you can say that about parts of Birmingham and these kind of things, some of these areas as well. But if you look at London, it's always been a bit of a melting pot.
Yeah.
It's the capital of a trading nation. It's why we have one of the best stock exchanges in the world, why we have the most investment, you know, foreign investment into this country.
The People's Channel. Patrick Christie's Tonight. Weekdays from 9 p.m.
Michelle, how do you feel when you look back at that 5 years there, from where we first started in and out of those lockdowns?
Well, I've got to say, hang on. I've got to, right, first things first. I've worked on live TV for half a decade and I still forget to talk into a microphone.
Easily done.
What can I say? Well, you look back on some of that and you actually forget some of the absolute ridiculousness that has gone on in the last 5 years. And I think you summed it up well. When you go back to that period of the lockdown, the ridiculous control, the enforced vaccine mandates, you could feel like you was just going mad in your own little world. And to me, GB News, we really, really came into our own.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Yeah, we seem to be split on the whether Mein Kampf should be allowed in books.
In bookshops.
In bookshops, yes. James says, don't agree with censorship. If people want to read it, that's up to them. Others saying that people are vulnerable to radicalisation, so given how unstable our society is, does this book not cross the borders of free speech? That's Dom. I think that's an important point too.
There is certainly polarising views on that one, so do keep your views coming in.
Should we move on then?
Yeah.
Because nearly 4 in 10 men think that they could qualify for the 2028 Olympics if they had enough training.
Yeah, a new poll found 38% of men believe professional coaching and a strict training regime could get them to the Games in LA.
More than a quarter of adults also reckon they could beat a professional in their chosen sport.
Really? Football was seen, funnily enough, as the best bets, while 13% of men said they could run 100 metres in under 15 seconds. Really? Really? I can't believe that. Despite 1 in 5 never having tried.
What does this tell us about men then, Cameron?
Are they... I'm not going to say it's an arrogance about it. So hubris, that's a very good word for it. Do you know what? If it gives them a bit of confidence and it gets them to try and do a bit of exercise, what's wrong with that one?
Yeah, but they're not going to do it, are they? They're
Probably
just
not.
saying, they're from the comfort of their sofa.
Well, I think people who have Olympic divers or Olympic sprinters have trained since childhood. So suddenly thinking in your mid-20s or mid-30s you're going to suddenly become an Olympic gold medalist might be a little bit high in the
I had
sky.
a friend who was convinced that he was going to go to the Olympics for ping pong because he played a bit in the summer.
Oh, I see. Did it work?
I think it's just a man... No, it didn't work. I think it's just a man thing. I mean, let us know if you disagree, but that level of confidence, you know?
There is somebody very confident in this building.
Oh, yeah?
Producer Lewis.
Oh, yeah, Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah, Lewis used to, you know, be a great equestrian as a child. And he believes that if he put a couple of years in, which is what's needed, he could be in the Olympics in the dressage.
Quite
the
possibly.
dancing with the horses.
Yes, that could work. I suppose that's less kind of physical training and more technical ability. Not that I know much about dressage at all.
I just imagine it's a very competitive field. But Lewis insists that he is able to do it.
Yes,
so there you go.
quite possibly.
Let us know, what would your favourite sport be? If you had to train for one sport to try and make the Olympics in 2 years' time, which one would it be? Which is the easiest one that anyone could do, even if they're a little bit out of shape? Are there any?
Ping pong,
Shot put?
you said. Shot put, yes.
You have to have a very strong arm, don't you?
Hammer throw.
Hammer throw.
What else could you do? Tennis. Lots of people play tennis as well, although that's quite physically exhausting. Wrestling?
That's pretty exhausting.
Really?
Shooting.
Yeah, shooting's a good one.
Shooting. I mean, the Winter Olympics has all these bizarre sports.
Yes.
Where you
Skiing.
ski and then shoot, ski and then shoot.
Slalom.
Oh,
as well.
maybe the curling.
The curling would be good.
Yeah, maybe we could do the curling. To be honest, I think all of these are out of reach for us, and I don't think 4 out of 10 men would be able to, even if they had training every single day. So
No.
it's ridiculous.
And why don't women have more confidence?
Well, women are a little more realistic, perhaps, Cameron, of their own abilities.
Possibly. Well, I think they should be more confident. They can be in the Olympics too.
Well, anyway, let us know. Could you go to the Olympics for shot put if you had the training? Or the inclination, even?
Maybe. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Do not go anywhere. But first, here's a look at your weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It is still hot and sunny in the southeast, albeit not as hot as yesterday. Elsewhere, slightly colder, fresher feel to things for sure. There's a front making its way southeastwards, albeit quite gradually and not bringing a huge amount of rain, but there is a bit more cloud mixed in because of that front that's making its way across the country. So many northern western parts of England and Wales having more cloud than yesterday, and towards the northwest there will be quite a bit of cloud as well. A few outbreaks of showery rain here and there, nothing especially heavy for the time being. As I mentioned, still hot in the southeast, but temperatures down markedly on yesterday. Nonetheless, highs of around 35, possibly 36 Celsius. Fresher feel elsewhere, especially with the cloud, less sunshine, so not feeling as hot. That's probably a good thing from many people's point of view. Into the evening, and a few showers continuing across parts of Scotland. Eastern areas, Aberdeenshire, could see some bright sunny weather perhaps, but elsewhere quite cloudy, a bit damp at times. A similar story across Northern Ireland, a few showers coming in, particularly across the west. And then across England and Wales, well, cloudier across northern and western parts. A few showery bursts of rain here and there for the time being, but actually as we go overnight and through the early hours of tomorrow morning, well, that's when we could see some fairly hefty showers developing across some parts of eastern England, Lincolnshire, East Anglia, maybe affecting London as well. They could be heavy, they could be thundery. Do watch out for some potentially fairly intense downpours. It is going to be a relatively warm night, not as oppressively warm as last night.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner. First of all, we want to give you £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. I'm going to do now, they are throwing things up the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Friday, the 14th of August. I'm Cameron Walker.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Look, this is an overwhelming endorsement of me. I have had enough of being judged by mainstream media, being called a criminal. Do you know, if I've made one sin, it's I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I've broken no law, I've broken no tax law, I've taken no public money, I don't even own a motorhome, all right? And, you know, maybe I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I'm confident I'm right. We'll see where we go.
The parliamentary probe into a £5 million gift received by Nigel Farage reopens today after his decisive by-election win.
The Reform leader tells GB News if he's guilty of anything, it's not filling out a piece of paper, insisting he's done absolutely nothing illegal.
So, is this a mainstream media witch hunt, or does the Reform leader have real questions to answer?
And if he is forced into another by-election with all those other parties taking part, would he win again?
That this is a large and complex incident that has occurred on one of the hottest days of the year.
Britain buckles in the heat wave as more than 100 firefighters battle a wildfire in the West Midlands.
20 to 30 homes have been destroyed as a result of this fire here in Stourbridge, but across the wider West Midlands, the ambulance service say 54 people have had to be treated, 19 taken to hospital. Back here in Stourbridge, fire services are still fighting this blaze.
Elsewhere, 2 people are in hospital with serious injuries after a train derailed near Lewis railway station. Is the heatwave also to blame?
And would you live next door to Crowber or next door to a migrant camp?
Well, look, I mean, I'm in a constituency that's had asylum hotels as well.
Happy, would you, with your children?
Look, I do understand, but look, we've got to put people somewhere.
A migrants' barracks backlash. A Labour MP breaks ranks and calls plans to house migrants at an RAF base in North Yorkshire unsuitable.
We're here at Linton-on-Ouse. You can see the disused RAF base just behind us, which borders straight onto people's accommodation. We've been speaking to residents and MPs who are up in arms about the plans.
Former Conservative Minister Edwina Currie says the obvious thing 1,200 young male migrants are going to need in a little village like Piddington is a brothel. Does she strangely have a point, though? We'll discuss.
The King's been accused of deserting his Christian allegiance by Queen Elizabeth's former chaplain and turning his back on his coronation oath. We'll stay tuned to find out more.
And in lighter news, during the by-election coverage last night, our political editor got stuck up a Ferris wheel.
I'm stuck now, Patrick. Patrick, it stopped. Patrick, it stopped. Patrick, I'm a married man. I'm a married man. I've got 3 children, Patrick, and a wife.
Oh, poor Chris Hope.
He was so scared when he got on that.
He was shaking.
If you watch that from the beginning, you can go back on YouTube and watch it. Chris was very nervous.
Yes.
Doesn't like heights, gets seasick from motion.
Oh no! And then our chief political correspondent, Catherine Forster, had to, I think, calm him down a little bit afterwards. Yes, on TV.
I'm not surprised. Being stuck up a Ferris wheel, not what you want, really.
Anyway, we're being discussing this morning, is there a mainstream media witch hunt against Nigel Farage and Reform UK? Because, of course, if this parliamentary probe continues and another by-election is forced because of a recall petition, well, all the other mainstream parties, Conservatives, Labour and the rest, will be standing. Will Farage still win? I predict he would win a second by-election, don't you?
Well, this is the thing. What did he get this time around? 73, 72?
Yes.
73% of the vote. Yes, of course, his major opponent was Count Binface.
22,000
votes. Very
votes.
different from what the next election there could be looking like. But it looks like he won that seat with a resounding victory the previous time. He's won it again with a resounding victory. Would he just win it again? You know, is there a motivation here by some in the media, some in politics, to just try and get this man out of politics, Nigel Farage?
Well, there is no question that he's incredibly popular in Clacton. I don't think it actually makes a difference, this parliamentary probe for Clacton, but does it make a difference for the rest of the country? If he wants Reform UK to win the next general election, if he wants to become the next Prime Minister, you look at the recent polling, the popularity of Reform is starting to slump. Is that just because of the burn and bounce? Perhaps, but I think Conservatives are slowly creeping up as well, so it'll be interesting to see what the national reaction to that would be.
Well, all of this media scrutiny, of course, is playing its part. gbnews.com/your say. Do get in touch about the whole situation, but let's get to the headlines with Sam.
Thank you both, and good afternoon to you. The top story this lunchtime: Nigel Farage has won the Clacton by-election, taking more than 22,000 votes, but in a contest which was boycotted by other major political parties.
Nigel Farage is duly elected as the Member of Parliament for the Clacton constituency at this election.
Well, the Reform leader was not there to hear that result in person last night. Mr Farage said that police had warned him about an organised plot to disrupt the count and decided not to attend.
Having won a resounding victory, a ringing endorsement of all that I've tried to fight for and you try to fight for, and be demeaned and humiliated by nobodies, and I will not, sadly, be attending the count.
Well, the result puts Nigel Farage back in Parliament, but also puts him back under investigation. The Parliamentary Standards Watchdog has now reopened his probe into whether he should have declared a £5 million gift from billionaire Christopher Harwood. Parliament's not due to return until next month, and it's not clear at this stage how quickly the investigation will move forward. But Mr Farage insists he's not broken the rules and claims the money was purely personal and used for security.
Look, this is an overwhelming endorsement of me. I have had enough of being judged by mainstream media, being called a criminal. Do you know, if I've made one sin, it's I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I've broken no law, I've broken no tax law, I've taken no public money, I don't even own a motorhome, all right? And, you know, maybe I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I'm confident I'm right. We'll see where we go.
Also this hour, 54 people have been treated by paramedics after wildfires tore through the West Midlands on the hottest day of the year. 19 were taken to hospital as fires damaged homes, forced evacuations and brought part of the region to a standstill. Fire crews say they are now making progress, but the response is expected to run for days after thousands of 999 calls and what one fire chief has called extensive devastation. In Stourbridge, more than 100 firefighters tackled the blaze which started in grassland before spreading towards homes. The Prime Minister has thanked crews for putting themselves at risk to keep others safe. Rail accident investigators are on the scene of a train derailment in East Sussex, which left 2 people seriously injured and 18 others hurt. Around 150 passengers were on board the Southern service from London Victoria to Eastbourne when 3 carriages came off the track near Lewes yesterday afternoon. Passengers described a terrifying few seconds on board, with one saying there was a bang before everything went topsy-turvy and the carriage fell onto its side. Everyone has now been evacuated, but investigators are working to find out what caused the crash. More than 1 million people have now signed a petition calling for PC Andrew Harper's killers to be kept in prison. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are due to be released next year, halfway through their 13-year sentences for manslaughter. PC Harper was killed in the line of duty in 2019 after being dragged behind a car as the men fled a quad bike theft. Prime Minister Andy Burnham says he is turning over every stone to try to stop their early release, while 50 policing leaders also urge him to use every lawful option available. That comes as a convicted killer who murdered his estranged wife will stay behind bars after the High Court blocked his release. Glyn Razzle was jailed for life in 2003 for murdering Linda Razzle, who vanished on her way to work in Swindon during their divorce. The parole board had ruled he could be freed on licence, but the Ministry of Justice challenged that decision. A High Court judge has now quashed the ruling, saying she's not satisfied that the public would be safe if he was released. And a mother who killed her 3-month-old daughter with heat from a hairdryer has been jailed for 6 years. 28-year-old Courtney Gardshaw subjected Dahlia Rose to sustained heat on her head and body at home in Aberdeenshire. Sentencing her at the High Court in Edinburgh, Judge Simon Collins called it a uniquely disturbing case and said she had committed a gross breach of the most basic duty as a parent. The court heard that Gardshaw had been drinking while looking after her baby and had used the hairdryer for up to an hour, causing severe burns. And Andy Burnham says he wants to go further in cutting business rates for high street firms. The Prime Minister has already announced support for pubs, social clubs and live music venues and says there is more to do. He'll meet small business owners in Devon today. He's promising to listen to what they need to plan for the long term. Mr Burnham says that local businesses are the beating heart of communities and wants to look more broadly at support in the autumn budget. Well, those are the latest headlines for now. You would think that Cameron and Emily listen intently during the headlines, but they are, in fact, practising for Team GB. Just take a look at what they get up to during the news. There they are. Whoa, look at them go.
I look great.
I look great as well.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Back to Team GB shortly. First, though, the headlines. The markets, rather. The pound will buy you $1.3528 and €1.1707. The price of gold, £3,219 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 10,766 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
I love how you were winning the hurdles race during that picture. Thank you for that, Sam.
I'm faster than you.
Yeah.
I can have the hubris of all those 4 in 10 men who think that they could be an Olympic champion.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll let you win it. Anyway. The time is 11 minutes past 1, and the parliamentary investigation into £5 million gift received by Nigel Farage has resumed following his re-election as MP for Clacton.
Yes, the Reform UK leader won over 22,000 votes, beating his main opponent, Count Binface.
But Labour Party chair Bridget Phillipson told GB News he should not be celebrating just yet.
Well, of course, Nigel Farage only wanted this by-election in order to distract and deflect from the many, many questions that are piling up, whether that's the £5 million dodgy gift or his connections to a convicted fraudster. You know, Reform are just engulfed in all of this sleaze and this scandal. And now the by-election's out of the way, I look forward to Nigel Farage levelling with the British people and being prepared to answer some questions about all of this.
Well, it comes after Nigel Farage skipped the count, Reform claiming police advised him to stay away over a credible threat, something that Essex Police denies. They said they didn't tell him that he couldn't go. Or that he shouldn't go.
Well, the former Conservative MP Heather Wheeler joins us now. Good afternoon to you, Heather. Look, what do you think's next for Nigel Farage with this? Because it appears the allegations against him just are not going to go away.
Well, they're not going to go away because people are fascinated by how people get involved in politics and then what makes them tick once they're there. So the idea that a £5 million gift was a private matter because it happened, say, 6 months before he declared for Parliament, it just doesn't wash. The simple rules are for the 12 months before you get elected as an MP, you have to declare gifts and, in effect, friendships, so your business arrangements. And, you know, it really is ever so simple. This is where I think maybe hubris is going to come into it because he thinks he's above it. He's not. Everybody has to do it. It really is simple stuff.
I mean, you say he thinks he's above it, but are the attacks on him proportionate? You know, Nigel Farage is saying that this is part of an establishment witch hunt against him. If he's guilty of anything, it's not filling in a form correctly, a little piece of paper correctly. He's done absolutely nothing illegal. If there is to be another election, surely he's going to win that too. So is the whole thing proportionate, Heather?
Well, it's proportionate because £5 million is an amount beyond most people's ken. I mean, we've had all sorts of Labour together giving this person £2,000 every month for 12 months. Other amounts that have come in, huge amounts in total, but per individual, relatively.
But there's no suggestion that this money was for political means. This was a gift. He says that he could spend on absolutely anything that he likes. Of course, he's got huge security concerns and the like. If he could spend it, he could spend it on a Ferrari if he so wished.
Yeah, I'd rather he spent it on a car made in England. But anyway, that's another story. Aston Martin,
there you go.
There you go. There you go. But genuinely, all he needs to do is write out the details, get involved with the Commission, don't hesitate, don't prevaricate. That's when the Commission gets really, really annoyed with you. Just literally within 7 days, within 48 hours, send a reply back that's absolutely factual. And then if the Commissioner says this is completely understandable, then there's no case to answer. And it's been dealt with. It's the prevaricating that people find very annoying.
Do you think Nigel Farage will regret quitting dramatically as an MP for Clacton and then forcing this by-election?
Well, if you're talking about spending public money, £250,000 on a by-election, you could equally say how outrageous the Makerfield by-election was.
Quite.
And then on top of that, the Manchester mayoral by-election. I mean, that's what cost £5 million or something.
Much more expensive.
You know, our lovely new Prime Minister is costing serious amounts of cash. But, you know, maybe let's park that for another story. But I don't think Farage will take it. I mean, well, he will take it in his stride.
It's quite interesting, though, Heather, isn't it? The amount of scrutiny. The amount of scrutiny that Nigel Farage is getting, as opposed to Andy Burnham, who sort of plucked out of the mayoral position. His mate decided that he didn't want to stand in this seat and would give away to Andy. He then becomes the Prime Minister within a couple of weeks. I mean, I think that's more scandalous, surely, Heather Wheeler.
Well, it totally is, and I'm with you on there, and most of GB News viewers will agree with that. I think the difficulty for Burnham is going to be he's now got to fill in his declaration form. He's got to fill in the jobs that his wife's got, where all that came from. And I think people will be quite interested in the scrutiny in that declaration.
OK.
That's very interesting. Well, former Conservative MP Heather Wheeler, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts at home. You know, is this all a bit of a waste of time from the Investigations Committee? Would Nigel Farage, as you've been asking, would Nigel Farage just continue to win the election anyway in Clacton? Clearly, he's got a huge amount of support there. Does this sort of argument that it's him against the establishment work? You know, a lot of people on the left say there's no one more establishment than Nigel Farage.
They do.
In some ways.
It's clearly, I think it's going to work in Clacton. Will it work for the rest of the country?
Yeah.
Well, I think that question remains unanswered.
Well, elsewhere, a major incident has been declared in the West Midlands. A wildfire broke out, causing what's been described now as apocalyptic scenes.
Yeah, the fire is believed to have spread to around 40 acres, causing multiple homes to burn down and forcing residents to evacuate.
As it stands, a total of 54 patients have been treated by paramedics, 19 of whom were taken to hospital as a result of these wildfires.
And GB News' national reporter Jack Carson joins us live from Stourbridge, where a number of those homes have been affected. Jack, what's the latest?
Yeah, well, fire crews still really dealing with pockets of fire here. We know that there are hot spots they've been working on since this morning. 14 crews still on the scene here at Stourbridge, as well as them also trying to prevent further fire spread as the temperature from this morning since I got here once again ramps up. Certainly not to the kind of temperatures we saw yesterday, but again, real heat in the air, which mixed with this dry grass that we've got all around us from no rainfall in the last few months, that was able to mean that fire spread so quickly yesterday. We've had confirmation from the fire service that they believe it started on grassland and then spread to homes rather than the other way round, and they have confirmed to us as well that 3:30 today we are going to expect to hear an update from the Chief Fire Officer at West Midlands Fire Service. So we will have an update on their operations here a little bit later this afternoon, so stay tuned to GB News for to be able to get the latest on that. But as I was saying, they're still working here. There's still pockets of fire. Members of the golf club that we were speaking to earlier were some of the first to see that, but also Paul Nash, who's a local resident here. He's had much of his gardens and property destroyed. His house has somehow been able to survive the fire as the wind changed direction and it headed off in a different direction. But take a listen to what he told us earlier on about what he saw.
And our daughter looked outside and we saw the trees exploding basically along the railway track heading towards us. So we just left immediately, left everything and just came out. Our next door neighbour's bungalow's gone. We dashed out of the house yesterday like this because everything was exploding at the back of us. And luckily we got friends who were staying with. We were 1 o'clock when we noticed it, and within a few minutes the fire and the police was there, but it was coming in different parcels and they couldn't go from one area to the other to the other. The fire was beating them, truthfully. I mean, they've done a wonderful job, but if it's isolated, they could have done it, but it wasn't isolated. It looked as though it was coming from 3 different positions.
There, the speed at which this spread made it all the more harder for the fire service to try and to be able to control it. It's incredible how much they've been able to, but as I was saying, there are 14 crews still on site here in Stourbridge, still trying to make sure that this doesn't spread any further, deal with those pockets, those hot spots as they're being described by the service at the moment. Of course, we know that 2 people were taken to hospital because of this due to smoke inhalation. Incredible that nobody has been seriously injured from this, but around the West Midlands with other fires that have been going on, the West Midlands Ambulance Service confirming that they've treated 54 patients as a result of fires yesterday, with 19 taken to hospital. And just to recap again, the latest here is that at 3:30 this afternoon we will be getting an update in a press conference from the West Midlands Fire Service.
OK, Jack Carson, thank you for joining us.
Well, elsewhere in East Sussex, in Lewis, a train has derailed. Fire crews were on the scene. At least 2 trains were seen lying on their side, leaving 2 people seriously injured.
People have been warned to avoid the area. Network Rail have said no timetable can be given for when the railway will be able to safely reopen.
Well, GB News reporter Isabel Fekalak is on the scene for us. Isabel, what do we know about what caused this awful crash for these trains to be flipped onto their sides?
Well, good afternoon to you both. The Rail Accident Investigation Branch is looking into just that. What could have caused this? A lot of speculation around, of course, the heat being the hottest day of the year yesterday, whether that railway was buckled due to those extreme temperatures. Now, in terms of that, we have been told we'll be getting an update from them outlining the scope of their investigation next week. So still some time to wait while they take into account evidence, CCTV footage, signalling data and data downloaded from the train itself, which you may be able to see on the corner of your screen to my left, is still laying there on its side on the railway track. Here they've set up a command centre a few hundred metres away from the site. Dozens of emergency responders on site, police, Network Rail, also the investigation branch too, who are taking that evidence into account as we speak. And now passengers on board described a terrifying ordeal. They described the train rocking from side to side, a loud bang, glass shattering, luggage flying about, people flying about, those that were sat on the right-hand side of the train falling as it flipped onto its side onto those who were sat on the left-hand side. As you say there, 18 people were hurt, but 2 seriously injured by this incident that took place. And I've spoke to lots of residents who have walked down this morning to see the damage, and many of them who when you get a good look at this train, and they have said that it's an absolute miracle that no one was killed in this incident, a major incident declared by the National Transport Police. And a resident from a nearby house said that when it happened, she heard a loud crunching sound. There was also a farmer who had to very quickly move his cattle as this all happened from the fields behind me where emergency responders came in. There were 3 air ambulances on site. Today, as I said, dozens of people on site. They're working out a way to take the train off the track so that services can resume, but severe disruption on the railway services until further notice here.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Isabel Fekalak there in East Sussex. A shocking event. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Yeah, Andy Burnham has been advised to let rich pensioners sacrifice their state pension in return for an OBE. Would you give up your pension for a gong? But after the break.
It's quite a wild suggestion.
Would you live next door to Crowber or next door to a migrant camp?
Well, look, I mean, I'm in a constituency that's had asylum hotels as well.
Would you? With your children?
Look, I do understand, but look, we've got to put people somewhere.
Well, yes, that's what the Home Secretary said back in March. But now, is there a Labour MP rebellion brewing? One Labour MP has broken ranks and calls plans to house migrants at a RAF base in North Yorkshire unsuitable. And more MPs going to push back against these migrant accommodation plans.
Yeah, all of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter? So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain is not just a geographical expression. We are a people bound together by history and culture that are distinctively British. Join me to celebrate our music, theatre, artworks and literature, which we can explore and enjoy together.
Everybody's welcome.
Sunday with Michael Portillo. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 1. Now, women in a tiny Yorkshire village could soon be outnumbered 6-1 by men under plans to house asylum seekers at a former RAF base.
Yeah, it comes as the government plans to move around 3,750 asylum seekers into 3 disused military sites across the country.
Yeah, Labour MP has warned the plans to house 1,200 men at this particular RAF Linton-on-Ouse base are unsuitable.
Well, Anna Riley, GB News' Yorkshire and Humber reporter, joins us live from Linton-on-Ouse. Good afternoon to you, Anna. What are the residents saying about all this?
Good afternoon, Cameron and Emily. Well, there's an action group here that are campaigning against these plans. Back in 2022, the plans were proposed here. Villagers got together, they met with the council, they met with the local MPs, they had meetings and the plans were quashed. But yet again, it's reared its head. We're in a street here which borders straight onto that disused RAF base. But it's not just homes that border onto it. It's a children's playground as well. We'll just take you through the playground here and you'll be able to see it'll be used by younger children, by some of the equipment that's here, older children as well. And if we just take a look, you can just see how that base there is directly where children are playing. So if asylum seekers were to be housed here, there's that direct view of children playing here and there's concerns from parents about that. We've been speaking to residents earlier about issues around amenities here, but also safety concerns. This is what they told us.
A safety concern. There's been no consultation, no visits from ministers or prime ministers who promised to listen. It's a real concern for all of us.
We've got the possibility of quadrupling the population when all those services are already at breaking point. The government really ought to spend some serious time developing a proper thought-out policy for the kind of immigration we want and how we will handle it in this country.
Residents there saying it's just not a suitable area for such an influx of asylum seekers to be based here, and that's what the local MP, Sir Alex Shellbrook, says as well. He told us that he was furious that he hadn't been consulted, let alone the public being consulted about these plans. Let's listen to what he said.
We have written quite a large letter which went into the Home Office. I have raised several questions on the floor of the House and basically had those dismissed. I had a meeting with the Director of Asylum from the Home Office, who again I felt it was a very bad meeting, that he wasn't taking concerns seriously. But what I am absolutely furious about is that as the Member of Parliament who has been elected by these residents to represent them in Parliament, that I am being cut out of this process. And I specifically asked whether I would get to see the feasibility study before it went to the Home Office, to which I was told, no, I won't. I think that's undemocratic, and I think the people of this constituency and the people of this village deserve better from this government when their Member of Parliament is being pushed out of the process.
So a complete lack of consultation from the Home Office and legitimate concerns as well, especially from families, from parents that would be taking the children into this park. You can see behind us how close it is, but just look, this is the only barrier that's in place at the moment between this RAF base that could be used to house a minimum of 1,200 male asylum seekers, with children playing right next door.
Thank you very much indeed, Anna. Very interesting that Cameron. It's quite interesting what this Labour MP who's broken ranks has to say, this Rachel Mascalls, because in the past she's been very critical about the Home Secretary's immigration crackdown. During the migration crisis in 2015, she says, what does it matter if we have to wait another week for a hospital visit or if our class sizes are slightly bigger, saying, you know, refugees welcome and all that. She's spoken about the Home Secretary getting tough on indefinite leave to remain. But then, when the problem comes to her door, suddenly it's, oh, this isn't the right place for migrants. Oh, there's a primary school next door. Oh, there are concerns in the community. It's absolutely not the right place to go. When previously she said, you know, sort of tougher immigration plans are escalate anxiety, etc., etc. So it's quite funny how when reality, you know, hits, these sort of left-wing MPs suddenly change their tune.
Yes, it is interesting how she's changed her tune, but also I suspect maybe she's listening to what her constituents are saying and thinking, oh, if I disagree with them, as I have done previously, I'm going to be out of a job at the next election. Just a thought.
Well, yes, perhaps a little cynical touch there from Cameron. A Home Office spokesperson said, we're closing every asylum hotel and moving asylum seekers into basic accommodation, including ex-military sites. Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, the population of asylum seekers in hotels has fallen by 35% in the last year and by 63% from the peak in 2023. Overall asylum costs have already fallen by £1 billion since the general election.
We're working to fairly disperse asylum seekers across the country, working closely with local authorities and listening to local concerns to reduce the impact on communities. Well, there you go. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Yeah, new research shows 4 in 10 men think they could actually train their way to 2028 Olympics.
There's me.
And there's me as well. Yeah, Emily winning, of course. Do you think you could qualify, just like Emily and myself? If so, do get in touch, gbnews.com/USA. But first, here is the news with Sam Francis.
The hurdles might be tricky.
Very good afternoon to you. The headlines this lunchtime. Nigel Farage has won the Clacton by-election, but the parliamentary investigation that helped force him out has now been reopened. The Reform UK leader had resigned after weeks of pressure over a £5 million gift from billionaire Christopher Harwood. 54 people have been treated by paramedics and now 6 firefighters have been taken to hospital after wildfires tore through the West Midlands on the hottest day of the year. 19 people were taken to hospital as huge blazes damaged homes and forced families to flee. Firefighters are continuing to face what is one of the biggest incidents the region's ever seen. Rail accident investigators are at the scene of a train derailment in East Sussex, which left 2 people seriously injured and 18 others hurt. Around 150 passengers were on board when the service came off the track near Lewes yesterday afternoon. A petition calling on the government to stop the early release of PC Andrew Harper's killer has hit 1 million signatures today. Public pressure has been growing since it emerged that Jesse Cole and Albert Bowers could be freed early under measures designed to ease overcrowding in prisons. And Andy Burnham says he wants to go further in cutting business rates for high street firms. The Prime Minister will take that message today to Devon, where he'll meet small business owners as part of his summer tour of the UK. Those are the latest lunchtime headlines. At full roundup at 2.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thanks, Sam. Lots more coming up on today's show, including the King. Well, he's been accused of deserting his Christian allegiance by Queen Elizabeth's former chaplain and turning his back on his coronation oath. Well, stay tuned to find out more.
Yes, indeed. All of that and more to come. Your GB News, Britain's #1 news channel.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It is still hot and sunny in the southeast, albeit not as hot as yesterday. Elsewhere, slightly colder, fresher feel to things for sure. There's a front making its way southeastwards, albeit quite gradually and not bringing a huge amount of rain, but there is a bit more cloud mixed in because of that front that's making its way across the country. So many northern western parts of England and Wales having more cloud than yesterday, and towards the northwest there will be quite a bit of cloud as well. A few outbreaks of showery rain here and there, nothing especially heavy for the time being. As I mentioned, still hot in the southeast, but temperatures down markedly on yesterday. Nonetheless, highs of around 35, possibly 36 Celsius. Fresher feel elsewhere, especially with the cloud, less sunshine, so not feeling as hot. That's probably a good thing from many people's point of view. Into the evening, and a few showers continuing across parts of Scotland. Eastern areas, Aberdeenshire, could see some bright sunny weather perhaps, but elsewhere quite cloudy, a bit damp at times. A similar story across Northern Ireland, a few showers coming in, particularly across the west. And then across England and Wales, well, cloudier across northern and western parts, a few showery bursts of rain here and there for the time being, but actually as we go overnight and through the early hours of tomorrow morning, well, that's when we could see some fairly hefty showers developing across some parts of eastern England. Lincolnshire, East Anglia may be affecting London as well. They could be heavy, they could be thundery. Do watch out for some potentially fairly intense downpours. It is going to be a relatively warm night, not as oppressively warm as last night for many of us, but nonetheless, temperatures holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. And then tomorrow, still some showers across the southeast first thing, a few heavy ones perhaps, but they clear away, and most of the showers elsewhere will actually ease a little bit, albeit towards the northwest of Scotland. Some showery rain continuing to push in here. Cloudier towards the north and west, perhaps some parts in the southeast having cloud. Elsewhere, some bright sunny weather, but a fresher feel.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A31 is closed at Junction 2 in Ringwood. The M25 clockwise has a collision between junctions 8 and 9 near Reigate. The M27 is closed at Junction 2 in Romsey. The M1 northbound is closed between junctions 4 and 5 in Elstree. North of the border, the A1 southbound is restricted by a broken down vehicle at Haddington. Across Wales, the A470 from Doldolod to Rhayader is closed. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway and Thameslink are facing major disruption between London St Pancras International and Bedford, with Thameslink also disrupted between Three Bridges and Horsham. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. The time is 1:38 and Queen Elizabeth's former chaplain has criticised King Charles, claiming he has broken his coronation oath.
Yeah, the reason for this is Buckingham Palace replaced the King's title as Defender of the Faith with Protector of the Space for Faith within the Multi-Faith Nation in this year's Sovereign Grant Annual Report.
Well, Gavin Ashenden served as Queen Elizabeth's chaplain for 9 years, but has now claimed that the King has repudiated the support and promotion of a Christian culture.
OK, well, former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II and associate editor at the Catholic Herald, Gavin Ashenden, joins us. Gavin, thank you very much indeed. Strong words from you. How concerned are you?
Well, they're strong words because the situation is a serious one. We find ourselves involved in a crisis in our culture and our civilization. Effectively, in previous generations, we would have considered we had been invaded by people who had a different culture and different priorities. Multiculturalism has accused us of racism and not allowing us to use that language. But effectively, the vast majority of the new immigrants are Islamic. And Islam and Christianity don't sit side by side very well together. In fact, in the rest of the world, Islam will not tolerate Christianity. They won't even allow us to have churches where they are. And there is a simple sense that as this as the numbers increase, our society is being taken over and radically changed. So then the question is, who is governing us and who will speak on behalf of the people? And the answer is, the people who are governing this are making the change. And the king, who might otherwise speak on behalf of the people, that's his job. That's the agreement between us. Those are the promises he made. Not only is he not speaking on them, but he's actually promoting the alternative and the difficulty we face from abroad.
Gavin, the King's constitutional role remains unchanged. He is still defender of the faith. He still passes royal assent and goes to church every Sunday, speaks regularly to the Archbishop of Canterbury as well. But I just want to ask you your opinion on this. You were chaplain to the late Queen in the year 2012, where the late Queen said in a speech to mark her Diamond Jubilee, the Church of England has a duty to protect the free practice of all faiths in this country and has created an environment for other faith communities and indeed people of no faith to live freely. Did you disagree with the late Queen at that time, or if not, what's changed your view when it comes to King Charles?
No, the Queen was quite right about that. It was well said and beautifully said. But the fact is that in our society, up until now, there has been freedom. Christians are very generous about the way in which they welcome other people of other faiths. The problem doesn't lie with the Church of England or with Christians. It lies with Islam, which is not tolerant, which in fact has an exercise of power. What's changed are the circumstances. Since the Queen said that, we found ourselves overwhelmed by a level of migration that is illegal and unwelcome, uncalled for.
But
and is dissolving.
Gavin, sorry to interrupt, but it sounds as
Go
though
ahead.
your concern is with government policy, specifically immigration policy, particularly from Muslim countries, rather than necessarily King Charles, who is living with the reality, surely, that our country is a multi-faith community and that, you know, Islam is increasing as a religion in this country. So are you not, you know, angry with the government rather than King Charles?
I'm not angry with anybody. I'm just pointing out the discontinuity between the two positions. The position of the head of the state is to promote Christianity, and we do that by welcoming other people. We're not taking away anybody else's freedoms. With the government, with the way that the policies the government are promoting are changing the balance of our society. I think I have to ask you, at what point would you say that the balance so changes that what we require of the head of state also changes in order to deal with a different situation? The situation is no longer the one it is the Queen spoke into. It's changed. It's continuing to change. I could ask you, what point do you think it'll stop changing?
But the King still delivers a Christmas message. He has in the past delivered Easter messages. He is still Supreme Governor of the Church of England. He was crowned and anointed in Westminster Abbey. Many Archbishops of Canterbury and senior clergymen have gone on the record praising King Charles's devotion to the Christian faith, and also following the terrible terror attack by an Islamist extremist in Golders Green on the Jewish community just a few months ago, it was the King who just a couple of days or weeks later went to show his public support against Islamic extremism in favour of the Jewish community.
Well, that's true. I don't, of course, and that was as it should be. What I'm saying is that who is going to speak on behalf of the 250,000 white girls who've been raped by mainly Islamic community? Who is going to speak on behalf of those Christians who pray outside abortion centres who are arrested by the police? Who is going to speak on behalf of those Islamic converts at Hyde Park Corner who get stabbed in the throat and the police attack the person who's been killed? We live in a society where things are changing radically. What the picture you've described is partial. I'm describing the rest of the picture, and I'm asking you, when you think that the balances will be changed so much that actually we need some form of restraint, does the head of state have no responsibility for adding his voice to a situation which is radically changing and changing very much for the worst for the citizens of this country, and particularly for the Christians?
Well, I think that's a very fair question, Gavin Ashenden. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Former chaplain to Queen Elizabeth II and associate editor at the Catholic Herald.
I mean, I would just point out very strong opinions, clearly, from Gavin there, but I would just point out, of course, the King is a constitutional monarch. He cannot speak on behalf of the country without the government say so. It's the government who makes policy. It's the government who decides who comes in to this country and goes out of it. The king essentially is powerless to do that kind of thing. So
But a lot of people are very desperate for the king to be seen to uphold our Christian heritage, history and religiosity, which a lot of people do feel is being undermined.
Well, I think in the real world he does. I just think there's an echo chamber online which suggests otherwise. But I think the king for decades has really promoted this idea of interfaith harmony. But of course, send us your views, gbnews.com.
Well, let us know. Do you have a problem with Defender of the Faith being changed to Protector of the Space for Faith within the Multi-Faith Nation? Not very catchy. That was what was in the Sovereign Grant annual report. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up.
Yeah, former Conservative Minister Edwina Currie says the obvious thing 1,200 young male migrants are going to need in a village like Paddington in Oxfordshire is a brothel. Well, does she have a point?
Yeah, does she actually, if you think about it. Now, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. The hot weather is not just restricted to the UK at the moment. Much of Western Europe are under an extreme heat wave. And also some thundery downpours. Across the Canary Islands, though, it's much more reasonable temperatures in the 30s here with plenty of sunshine. Outbreaks of heavy rain affecting more higher ground parts of the Pyrenees as well as the Alps, seeing intense thunderstorms over the next few days. But more coastal areas should remain dry and bright with plenty of sunshine. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
4 heat waves, weeks without meaningful rain. As the UK heads towards one of its hottest summers on record, the pressure is showing here in Sussex, in the fruit growing across these fields.
Well, the impact of the heat is already visible here. This local grower says that if these extreme temperatures continue, this year's harvest may well be smaller in size.
I don't think there's been another period like this in the history. 3 years ago, we had a tremendous heat wave in the middle of harvest. We were unable to get the fruit to cool down quickly enough. The following year we had a very, very light crop, and the same again this year.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's only all-female chess team, called She Plays to Win, has been promoted to the game's top division, only to be told they must recruit a male player to compete. Now, league rules require every First Division team to include at least one male and one female player, meaning that one of the team's female players could lose her place. I'm joined in the studio by the She Plays to Win chess players, Anusha and Alicia. Great to see you both this afternoon.
Thank you.
So sorry about what's going on. You've been promoted, but you might have to lose one of your teammates. What's going on here?
So essentially, we have fallen victim to this rule that She Plays to Win, our team, has been promoted to the First Division in our league, but now must have a male player as part of the rules.
GB News, the People's Channel. Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Well, that drought is due to long periods, record periods actually, with no rainfall and high temperatures. The areas that are affected, as you say, over half of England, half of the UK affected by that. The areas being East Anglia, Hertfordshire, the whole of London, Thames Valley, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Devon and Cornwall, the West Midlands and Wessex, covering Dorset, Somerset, Wiltshire and Gloucestershire. So a huge area impacted by that drought. There is also that amber heat health alert still in place here. That's in place until tomorrow. And temperatures today in the south could reach up to 35 degrees. So people here in Bognor Regis coming to the coast to cool down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Well, lots of you have been getting in touch after that conversation with Gavin Ashenden about the King and his whether he should be defender of the faith and do more for Christianity. Milne says, clearly the monarch can change things, otherwise it will remain defender of the faith. The King is not making it clear at all that Christianity is absolutely the main and will only ever remain the primary religion of this country.
Yeah, Margaret says he swore an oath at his coronation to be defender of the faith and he should stand by that oath.
Simon says, totally reject the woke definition for the King's vow of protector of the faith. The faith is Christianity, identified primarily in the Church of England. The thing is, if you have a constitutional oath to be defender of the faith, but then a document that you're related to, this Sovereign Annual Grant Report, His Majesty is, what is it?
His Majesty is Supreme Governor of the Church of England and protects the space for faith within the multi-faith nation.
I mean, to me, no offence, but it does sound a bit of a word salad, that.
It does. I'm not quite sure why they changed that, but what I would point out is this is nothing new. The King has been defender of the faith, well, since he ascended to the throne, but also in the 1990s he was talking about interfaith dialogue. As I mentioned there to Gavin, his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, also spoke about interfaith harmony and the need to practice all faiths in this country, but
I guess Gavin is saying that it feels like Christianity is under attack or is being less prioritised in our society as a whole with the rise of Islam and other religions. That was his main contention, and that King Charles needs to do more to uphold the Christian nature of this country. Jean-Claude's got in touch and says the King needs to speak up for persecuted Christians abroad more. And that's another good point. I do think not enough is said about that. Christians across the world are persecuted, and it doesn't often make the headlines.
Well, why don't you, viewers and listeners, if you go gbnews.com/your say and tell us what you think King Charles should be doing to promote more Christianity, we would be very interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. You have just 2 weeks left to grab £60,000 in cash and a gold bar. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes.
You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions.
First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash.
£60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends,
or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all is Santi by Domes Resorts.
Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Best of luck with that. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show.
There is indeed. Please do continue to get your views in about the King's role as defender of the faith, or indeed protecting the space for faith within the multi-faith nation.
Yeah, there's certainly some very strong views coming into the inbox. Of course, we're also going to be giving you updates on everything going on in Stourbridge and also the train derailment in Sussex too. And Nigel Farage, what's next for Nigel Farage? Will he continue with being an MP without all of this issue with the £5 million gift that he's received?
Well, Lee Anderson says, you know, it's drawn a line under it all. Has he? We'll find out after the break.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It is still hot and sunny in the southeast, albeit not as hot as yesterday. Elsewhere, slightly colder, fresher feel to things for sure. There's a front making its way southeastwards, albeit quite gradually and not bringing a huge amount of rain, but there is a bit more cloud mixed in because of that front that's making its way across the country. So many northern western parts of England and Wales having more cloud than yesterday, and towards the northwest there will be quite a bit of cloud as well. A few outbreaks of showery rain here and there, nothing especially heavy for the time being. As I mentioned, still hot in the southeast, but temperatures down markedly on yesterday. Nonetheless, highs of around 35, possibly 36 Celsius. Fresher feel elsewhere, especially with the cloud, less sunshine, so not feeling as hot. That's probably a good thing from many people's point of view. Into the evening, and a few showers continuing across parts of Scotland. Eastern areas, Aberdeenshire, could see some bright sunny weather perhaps, but elsewhere quite cloudy, a bit damp at times. A similar story across Northern Ireland, a few showers coming in, particularly across the west. And then across England and Wales, well, cloudier across northern and western parts, a few showery bursts of rain here and there for the time being. But actually, as we go overnight and through the early hours of tomorrow morning, well, that's when we could see some fairly hefty showers developing across some parts of eastern England, Lincolnshire, East Anglia, maybe affecting London as well. They could be heavy, they could be thundery. Do watch out for some potentially fairly intense downpours. It is going to be a relatively warm night, not as oppressively warm as last night for many of us, but nonetheless, temperatures holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. And then tomorrow, still some showers across the southeast first thing, a few heavy ones perhaps, but they clear away, and most of the showers elsewhere will actually ease a little bit, albeit towards the northwest of Scotland. Some showery rain continuing to push in here. Cloudier towards the north and west, perhaps some parts in the southeast having cloud. Elsewhere, some bright sunny weather, but a fresher feel.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes.
You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner.
First of all, we want to give you
£60,000 in tax-free cash, plus you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition, from 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches.
From football to tennis in the car.
In the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there. With the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it? We're here again. To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Friday, the 14th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Cameron Walker.
This is a large and complex incident that has occurred on one of the hottest days of the year.
News this afternoon, a man and a woman have been arrested on suspicion of arson after a fire in Stoke-on-Trent yesterday. We'll have the latest on the scene.
Well, of course, here in Stourbridge, a few miles south of those arrests in Stoke-on-Trent, police and the fire investigation teams are beginning their own work here as to what caused this grassland initial fire here in Stourbridge, as their own work to control the blaze continues.
Look, this is an overwhelming endorsement of me. I have had enough of being judged by mainstream media, being called a criminal. Do you know, if I've made one sin, it's I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I've broken no law, I've broken no tax law, I've taken no public money, I don't even own a motorhome, all right? And, you know, maybe I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I'm confident I'm right. We'll see where we go.
Well, that was Nigel Farage, the Reform UK leader, and he's told GB News if he's guilty of anything, it's not filling out, as you heard, a piece of paper, insisting he's done nothing wrong or illegal. Is this the mainstream media witch hunt, or does the Reform leader have questions to answer?
Elsewhere, 2 people are in hospital with serious injuries after a train derailed near Lewis railway station. Is the heatwave to blame?
Well, the Rail Accident Investigation Branch have said that they will update us next week on what the cause of this derailment was. Meanwhile, emergency services remaining on the scene, and the train remains on its side on the tracks.
And would you live next door to Crowber or next door to a migrant camp?
Well, look, I mean, I'm in a constituency that's had asylum hotels as well.
Happy, would you, with your children?
Look, I do understand, but look, we've got to put people somewhere.
Migrants barracks backlash. A Labour MP breaks ranks and calls plans to house migrants at an RAF base in North Yorkshire as unsuitable.
And the King's been accused of deserting his Christian allegiance by Queen Elizabeth's former chaplain and turning his back on the coronation oath to defend the faith. Stay tuned to find out more.
And here's one for you. Andy Burnham has been advised to let rich pensioners sacrifice their state pension in return for an OBE. Would you give up your pension for a gong?
New research shows 4 in 10 men are so confident they think they could actually train their way to the 2028 Olympics if they started today. Do you think you could qualify if you put your mind to it? And in which category, which sport?
Not hurdles.
Well, there you go. 2 young people, 23-year-old man, 24-year-old woman arrested on suspicion of arson. This is over a large fire in Stoke-on-Trent. That's according to the Staffordshire Police. We're going to return to Jack Carson, our reporter, on that to find out more detail. But there you go. 2 young adults arrested on suspicion of arson.
Yes, and separately, Andy Burnham has banned disposable barbecues temporarily. But clearly the government trying to do as much as they can to mitigate the risks of fire, considering lots of people have now lost their homes in Stourbridge and West Midlands.
It's a bit late, though, isn't it, Cameron? I mean, the heatwave it's the last day today, isn't it? Most of the country is far cooler now.
Yes. Also, it's the 5th heatwave of the year, so you think perhaps they would learn some of this stuff. There was also a massive fire near Salford Priors in Warwickshire, near Stratford-upon-Avon as well. Some residents weren't allowed back to their homes, I understand, until the fire was brought more under control. Warwickshire Fire and Rescue Service declared a major incident. They no longer so, but still, it's a tricky time, I think, for authorities.
Absolutely. gbnews.com/your say. Please do get in touch. But let's get to the headlines with Sam.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 2 o'clock, the top story, well, as the Midlands continues to battle wildfires in extreme heat. We've heard this afternoon that 2 people have now been arrested on suspicion of arson after a grass fire damaged 4 homes in Stoke-on-Trent. Staffordshire police say a 23-year-old man and 24-year-old woman, both from the city, are being questioned over that blaze. Meanwhile, across the wider West Midlands, 6 firefighters have been taken to hospital with smoke inhalation and heat exhaustion after tackling fires across Staffordshire. 54 people have also been treated by paramedics and 19 taken to hospital after blazes broke out on the hottest day of the year. We're also hearing from the government today that they are banning disposable barbecue sales over a risk of fire. Advice published online says they pose a significant risk to the public. Heatwave continuing across the country, with ministers already considering action, now confirming it this afternoon after Andy Burnham had warned people not to use them while the countryside is so dry. Turning to politics, and Nigel Farage has won the Clacton by-election, taking more than 22,000 votes in a contest which was boycotted by other major political parties.
Nigel Farage is duly elected as the Member of Parliament for the Clacton constituency at this election.
But the Reform UK leader was not there to hear that result in person overnight. Mr Farage said police had warned him about an organised plot to disrupt the count, and he decided not to attend.
Having won a resounding victory, a ringing endorsement of all that I've tried to fight for and you try to fight for, and be demeaned and humiliated by nobodies, and I will not, sadly, be attending the count.
The result puts Nigel Farage back in Parliament, but also puts him back under investigation. The standards watchdog in Parliament has now reopened its probe into whether he should have declared a £5 million gift from billionaire Christopher Harwood. Parliament's not due to return until next month, and it's not clear at this stage how quickly the investigation will move forward. But Mr Farage insists he's not broken any rules and claims the money was purely personal.
Look, this is an overwhelming endorsement of me. I have had enough of being judged by mainstream media, being called a criminal. Do you know, if I've made one sin, it's I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I've broken no law, I've broken no tax law, I've taken no public money, I don't even own a motorhome, all right? And, you know, maybe I haven't filled in a piece of paper. I'm confident I'm right. We'll see where we go.
Let's just bring you some breaking news emerging in the last half hour or so from Belmarsh Prison, where 2 men have been charged with attempted murder after an inmate was attacked there. The victim is understood to be Irfan Sharif, the man there on the left-hand side of your screen. The father, of course, jailed for murdering his 10-year-old daughter, Sarah Sharif. Stephen Sansom and Adam Watson are accused of trying to kill him at the Category A prison on New Year's Day last year. The Crown Prosecution Service says both men are due to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court later this month. Rail accident investigators are at the scene today of a train derailment in East Sussex, which left 2 people seriously injured and 18 others hurt. Around 150 passengers were on board at the southern service from London Victoria to Eastbourne when 3 carriages came off the tracks near Lewes yesterday afternoon. Passengers have described a terrifying few seconds on board as the carriages fell on their side. Everyone has now been evacuated, but investigators are continuing to work out what caused the crash. And more than 1 million people have now signed a petition calling for PC Andrew Harper's killers to be kept in prison. Albert Bowers and Jesse Cole are due to be released next year, halfway through their 13-year sentences for manslaughter. PC Harper was killed in the line of duty in 2019. And Andy Burnham now says he is turning over every stone to try to stop his killer's release. Those are the latest headlines. Do stay with us for that update from the Midlands with Jack Carson on the wildfires and recent arrests. Next, though, a look at the markets.
Taking the ups and downs in our stride. Stilts Home Lifts sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Just gone 8 minutes past 2. The markets for you. The pound will buy $1.3528 and €1.1707. The price of gold, £3,219 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,766 points.
GB News Finance Report, brought to you by Stilts Home Lifts.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. And a major incident has been declared in the West Midlands after a wildfire broke out, causing what's been described as apocalyptic scenes.
Yeah, the fire is believed to have spread around 40 acres, causing multiple houses to burn down and forcing residents to evacuate.
As it stands, a total of 54 patients have been treated by paramedics, of which 19 were taken to hospital.
And an update for you. The government is beginning to take action to prevent wildfires. They've issued a temporary ban on the sale of disposable barbecues. And in the last few minutes, 2 people have been arrested for arson relating to separate fires in Stoke-on-Trent.
Well, GB News' national reporter Jack Carson joins us from Stourbridge. Jack, good afternoon to you. Obviously, the arrests have taken place due to a separate instance where you are, but can you bring us up to date with those lines, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So Staffordshire Police releasing this statement about 20 minutes ago to us, confirming, as you were saying, that the 23-year-old man and a 24-year-old woman, both from Stoke-on-Trent, they say, have been arrested on suspicion of arson. This is relating to a fire that took place yesterday afternoon in the Golden Hill area of Stoke-on-Trent. Police saying that shortly before 4:15 p.m. yesterday, the Staffordshire Fire and Rescue Service said they were responding to a grass fire there on the back of Maureen Avenue. 4 homes, they say, were affected, including a large number of gardens as well. Now, fire crews have been able to bring that fire under control, but Staffordshire Police saying that after their inquiries continued, as they describe it, at pace overnight, they say they have arrested 2 people in connection with that fire this morning. Detective Inspector Emma Kempson from their Criminal Investigations Department says they are continuing those investigations, which they say has culminated in these arrests today, saying as well that they still have a number of officers in the area today to both assure the local community and also actively investigate other incidents and other fires that have been happening across Staffordshire. So clearly Staffordshire Police taking a rather active role in investigating some of the fires that they saw yesterday, making these 2 arrests, seemingly having other officers in the area completing investigative work. Certainly back here in Stourbridge, we know that police and fire crew investigators have been on the scene from this morning beginning their work. We don't have any sense of the lines of inquiry that they're taking from this position here in Stourbridge. We know that they confirmed to us last night, the West Midlands Fire Service, that they believed the fires had started on the grass and then gone to the homes due to the wind and how dry the ground has been over the past few weeks with all of this extreme heat, not the other way round. So they confirmed that that was their position, but again, no sense really from here in Stourbridge what caused the fire to ignite. The 40 acres of land, grassland that's been gone, the multiple homes as well. But as you were saying, just shortly north from here, those arrests have been made in connection with fires which caused damage to 4 properties and gardens in Stoke-on-Trent. And in the last few weeks, members of Parliament, others asking the Prime Minister to put a ban on disposable barbecues. The Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, had urged supermarkets to stop selling them. Now it seems, after advice was published on the government website, that they are now banning this. So advice published online says the government has issued a temporary ban on the sale of disposable barbecues as they pose a significant risk to the public at this time. It's members of the public in the past 24 hours or so in the West Midlands that have ended up being treated by paramedics, 54 of them by the West Midlands Ambulance Service, 19 taken to hospital. That includes 2 from here, a woman and a boy from Stourbridge, who they say suffered from smoke inhalation. I mean, seeing the scenes of the fire and the extensive damage that residents have been telling us about today, it is quite incredible that only 2 people needed the kind of treatment that was required in a hospital and taken away from the scene. Other people, 4 other people, were discharged from the scene. So it's quite incredible that after such horrific, as you were saying, as what has been described as apocalyptic scenes here in Stourbridge, that only 2 people were needed to be taken to hospital. Elsewhere, firefighters have also had to be taken to hospital because of smoke inhalation. But certainly here in Stourbridge, the investigations continue. And just to reiterate that latest line we've got from Staffordshire Police relating to a fire in Golden Hill in Stoke-on-Trent yesterday afternoon, a 23-year-old man and a 24-year-old woman, both being described as being from Stoke-on-Trent, have been arrested on suspicion of arson.
OK, Jack Carson, thank you very much indeed. These two individuals arrested, not charged yet, but arrested on suspicion of arson. I mean, who would do such a thing? You know, the conditions are so dangerous at the moment. The ground is just so dry. I'm not sure this very late disposable barbecue ban is gonna do much, but...
No, but I suppose they're trying to do anything they possibly can. But,
yes. But in other news, let's return to the politics, because it was a big day last night for Nigel Farage. Yes, he won the by-election in Clacton with 63%, I believe it was, of the vote. Yes, coming in first place. Count Binface behind him. But this parliamentary investigation isn't going away. Yes, it's into this £5 million gift that Nigel Farage received, and it's automatically resumed following his re-election.
Yes, the Reform UK leader won over 22,000 votes, beating the main opponent, Count Binface.
Bridget Phillipson, the Labour Party chair, spoke to GBNews. She said he should not be celebrating just yet.
Well, of course, Nigel Farage only wanted this by-election in order to distract and deflect from the many, many questions that are piling up, whether that's the £5 million dodgy gift or his connections to a convicted fraudster. You know, Reform are just engulfed in all of this sleaze and this scandal. And now the by-election's out of the way, I look forward to Nigel Farage levelling with the British people and being prepared to answer some questions about all of this.
OK, well, this comes after Nigel Farage skipped the count. Reform claimed the police advised him to stay away over a credible threat, but the Essex police seem to deny this, saying they didn't tell him not to go.
Yes, well, Reform UK leader of North East Lincolnshire Council, Oliver Freeston, joins us live on Good Afternoon Britain. Good afternoon to you, Oliver. What do you make of this whole by-election? Nigel Farage clearly won with a big majority here, and yet the question has now turned back onto this £5 million gift, which opposition parties, whether Reform UK like it or not, are going to latch onto for political ammunition.
Well, I think Nigel's brave decision to call the by-election has been vindicated, and indeed the only people that can judge politicians is the electorate. Nigel was returned with 1,000 extra votes that he got in 2024, despite a reduced turnout, as is expected in by-elections. So clearly the people of Clacton are happy with him, and it is just the media that are creating this fury, but it doesn't translate onto the streets. And indeed, I went down there and campaigned for him, and the amount of support Nigel gets is unbelievable.
Was it all a bit pointless, though? I mean, the parliamentary investigation is resuming now that he's MP for Clacton. Again, it's still going to go on. People are still going to ask questions. It's still potentially that there could be another by-election in Clacton as a result if they do find wrongdoing. So it's just going to keep going on. Has he actually drawn a line under anything?
It's definitely not pointless, and the over 22,000 people that voted for him would say that it's not pointless. People are right behind Reform. For a party to break the uniparty, the two-party system in this country, led by a man called Nigel Farage, we should all be in absolute admiration for him. Indeed, I am, as are many members and people across the country. And the parliamentary standards, which is politically motivated, and as MPs from the different parties, then of course they're going to try and undermine him because they know that they're toast at the next election. So they'll throw everything at him to try and stop him.
You seem incredibly confident, Oliver, with the facts that you think that Reform UK are going to win the next election. Clacton clearly very behind their Member of Parliament, Nigel Farage here. National polling, however, looks slightly less comfortable than perhaps it was a year ago, let's say. Andy Burnham, OK, we've got a bit of a bounce in his popularity. I suspect that's going to last forever. But nonetheless, are you concerned at all that the national picture and the kind of noise that this kind of scandal creates is going to affect the polling numbers, or do you think it's not going to matter in the eyes of the public?
No, because with respect, it's only people like you in the media that are talking about it. On the doorstep, people have got far bigger fish to fry. And indeed, it's not just the Nigel show. We've now got loads of council leaders, mayors across the country, councillors doing fantastic work, police and crime commissioners. And we're delivering the services that people are seeing. And people are knowing if you can do a good job in local government, then that's what Reform will do in national government. So people say to my colleagues and I, keep going, keep pushing. We're right behind you.
All right, Oliver Freeston, thank you very much indeed. Reform UK leader of the North East Lincolnshire Council. Let us know your thoughts at home. Do you think this is all just being whipped up by the establishment media and that it's unfair to ask these questions about Nigel Farage. I mean, to be honest, anyone would ask questions about a £5 million gift from a billionaire based in Thailand. I mean, it's hardly surprising that people are going to ask questions, but that doesn't mean it's not politically motivated, does it? The strength of feeling from certain newspapers.
Indeed. Do let us know your thoughts on that. gbnews.com/your say. But it's time for the Great British Giveaway now, and your chance to grab to win 60 grand in cash and a gold bar in our Golden Summer celebration. Here's Hayley Sparks.
It's the final week to see how you could win over £65,000 in prizes. You could be our latest Great British Giveaway winner and join our exclusive list of giveaway champions. First of all, we want to give you a ton of tax-free cash. £60,000 in tax-free cash that you could use however you like. Treat your family, treat your friends, or treat yourself to a luxury 5-star holiday somewhere like here, all as Santi by Domes Resorts. Plus, you'll also receive a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. Don't miss your chance to win over £65,000 worth of prizes.
For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and yes, good luck in that competition. I think you've got less than 2 weeks now to enter, so why not, if you haven't already?
Do. And lots more coming up on today's show, because the King, as lots of you have been getting in touch with us, he's been accused of deserting his Christian allegiance by Queen Elizabeth's former chaplain and turning his back on the coronation oath. So stay tuned to find out more on that one and keep your thoughts coming in.
Yeah, please do keep your thoughts coming in, but after the break...
Would you live next door to Cromer or next door to a migrant camp?
Well, look, I mean, I'm in a constituency that's had asylum hotels as well.
Happy, would you, with your children?
Look, I do understand, but look, we've got to put people somewhere.
Well, there you go. That was the Home Secretary back in March. But now Labour MPs, could they be breaking ranks with the government? One has. She calls plans to house migrants at an RAF base in North Yorkshire unsuitable, and she's very much pushing against the proposal.
All of that and much more to come. You're with GB News, Britain's news channel.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Good Afternoon Britain. And women in a tiny Yorkshire village could soon be outnumbered 6-1 under plans to house asylum seekers at a former RAF base.
Yes, it comes as the government plans to move around 3,750 asylum seekers into 3 disused military sites.
A Labour MP has warned the plans to house 1,200 men at RAF Linton-on-Ouse are unsuitable.
Well, we're joined by political strategist Pablo Ohana. Is this what happens, that Labour MPs and left-wingers on that side of the debate, when the reality hits home and it's close to their patch, they change their mind and decide that actually we don't want all these migrant men in our village, thank you very much?
Well, somehow they do seem to have managed to find the most expensive way of doing the least popular thing. That is true. But I think, this endless argument about which village or town gets a coachload of people is really actually dividing our countries, pitting our communities against each other. I don't think this settles anything because you can't distribute your way out of a queue as long as we have. What we really need is a proper returns agreement in place. Get the backlog cleared. That means, a Europe-wide, including the UK, of course, agreement that gets decisions on asylum and immigration claims in weeks, not years. And when someone has no right to be here, they go quickly.
Pablo, it sounds like you're getting quite
safely.
close to advocating for the Conservative or Reform position of getting rid of the ECHR, because you know as well as I do that we don't have returns agreements with a lot of these very dangerous countries that some of these men are coming from.
Well, we need to get the returns agreements. I'm not in any way advocating we get rid of the CHR. That is extremely important, especially to places like Northern Ireland.
Well, how else are we going to get a returns agreement with the Taliban?
Well, I don't think we don't want a returns agreement with the Taliban. We need to find safe ways to return these people to stop them from coming here. And of course, since 2024, to their credit, this Labour government has stopped 50,000 people from entering this country. They've returned to nearly 70,000. So the number of people coming here
those aren't small boat migrants. Those 70,000, are people who have overstayed their visas mostly, a lot of whom actually left voluntarily. You know that, Pablo. You know the Labour government put out that number as some kind of success story, but really it's not the people are worried about.
But the work is still being done. Listen, I'm not saying that this problem is solved. There is a lot more to do. And we have had, especially in the UK, essentially a decade of backlogs, hotels, limbo. It has served nobody. It has not served the British people. It certainly hasn't served the people who are waiting years for a decision, just being shunted all over the country. We need to get tighter controls. This is true, but it needs to be compassionate and effective as well as it is robust and reactionary, not just kind of shoving everyone to the streets or shoving,
Pablo, do you see the women's point or any of the residents Sorry, Pablo. Do you see the point of the residents of this local village in North Yorkshire who are deeply concerned about a lot of migrants who are going to be entering or potentially entering this RAF base and staying there, next to a children's park, next to people's homes, potentially outnumbering them? Do you just see why they don't want that sort of thing nearby?
Yeah, of course, and I think the government knows that. I mean, there have been plenty of people that have said that this doesn't make sense, and this is exactly my point. I think Burnham is right that we need to be distributing people across the country more fairly, and he is right to say that the slightly more well-off areas need to take their fair share, but it needs to be proportionate, it needs to make sense, it needs to ensure that the systems and the kind of infrastructure in those areas can handle those numbers of people. But we still have to fix the root cause of this, which is getting through the backlog and stopping people from coming here in the first place.
I think the problem is that people are concerned that getting through the backlog means just sort of waving people through. But Pablo Ohana, political strategist, will have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. A Home Office spokesperson has said, we're closing every asylum hotel and moving asylum seekers into basic accommodation, including ex-military sites.
The population of asylum seekers in hotels has fallen by 35% from last year and by 63% from its peak in 2023. Overall, asylum costs have already fallen by £1 billion since the general election.
We're working to fairly disperse asylum seekers across the country, working closely with local authorities and listening to local concerns to reduce the impact on communities. Yes, the Telegraph was reporting that Andy Burnham wants to do this even if it costs more money, because obviously putting people up in more affluent areas of the country is going to cost more money. He wants to do it anyway, according to a government source anyway.
I think the problem is no one really wants them near where they live.
Well, quite.
But next, former Conservative Minister Edwina Currie has come up with a novel idea for how the village of Piddington in Oxfordshire could cope with the influx of migrants. Take a look.
The obvious thing that 1,200 young men are going to need in the middle of a village like Little Piddington is a brothel. I don't think they're going to provide that. I have a feeling that's not going to be allowed.
Well, it's quite interesting, this, because it was all part of a discussion on Times Radio about asylum accommodation and also, you know, concerns about the potential social impact. And this is something that I and a lot of women do worry about, and men worry about too, I'm sure, for their families and the women in their lives, is that if you have 1,200 young men from some countries as well that don't respect women in the way that we do as a country, who are the people, I'm going to be frank, who are they going to have sex with? And that's the concern. Well, let's speak to the Executive Chair at the Women's Policy Centre, Paolo Diana. Paolo, does Edwina Currie actually have a bit of a point here? If you have 1,200 young men, it's a natural instinct for men to want to have relations, let's say, with women. And so the concern is that, you know, people could find themselves assaulted as a result of this. And Edwina suggesting a brothel there, sort of in a tongue-in-cheek way, sort of does kind of address that point.
Well, of course, I hope it's a bad type of satire, because we don't want to abuse women with prostitution, that we know is the oldest form of abuse ever invented by men. Of course, the point is that these men will cause trouble. These men are at an age when they definitely need sex, and they can't socialize with other women because illegal migrants are mainly men, as we all know. 99% of them are men. And so we can't keep them here in this country, because if we keep them, like this Labour government want us to do, they will rape 100% for sure. I'm not saying all of them will do that, but I'm saying that many of them eventually might do that if they find the occasion to do so. And we know that they come from cultures, as you said, where they do not respect women and children as well, because many of these men, they think it's totally fine to have sex with minors. And in our civilized society, we know this is forbidden and this is evil. So we want to protect our women and children. We have to deport immediately these men. And while they are on our soil, they cannot be allowed to get out. They have to stay close in a sort of refugee camp, like they're doing now in Ceuta.
I mean, Paula, some people would say that you're showing a lack of compassion to men who may be coming from war-torn countries, who are desperate for a better life, have no intention of sexually assaulting any woman or any child at all, and that the emphasis should be on helping these people rather than, I suppose, tarring them with the same brush as being a potential threat.
And I respond, I have a lot of compassion for our women and our children. That's where my compassion has to go, because we can't have both sides. We know that. It's impossible. It's logic. It's mathematical. So I have to give my compassion to the women and the children who are the most in danger in this moment. I don't give my compassion to the potential abuser. I'm sorry. There are other ways to help these men in their countries. Also, they're coming from France. Never forget that. And France is not a war. In France, you don't starve to death. In France, you shouldn't have to ask for asylum. Why don't we send them back to France? It's totally doable. It's only a lack of will of our politicians because they're giving up their women and children because they think we don't understand the peril we are in. But I tell you more, we are at war. This is a form of invasion. This nation has to wake up because if you rape one woman every day or every hour in different areas, well, this is a form of invasion. Why should we let our women and our children to suffer such a tragic destiny? That's where my compassion stands.
Paola, in the last few years, there's been a number of instances of asylum seekers or would-be asylum seekers being arrested, charged, and in some cases prosecuted for sexual assaults of British women on the streets of the UK. You mentioned there seems to be a lack of political will to do anything about it. How does that make you feel? And what do you think the solution is going to be to this? Because clearly the current government and the current people in charge are not, they appear to be really struggling to solve this issue.
100%. I think it's a lack of political will, and I think this government is culpable. They have their hands dirty with blood and with the rapes of these innocent girls and innocent children, innocent women. We also know that women, they don't report all the rapes they are subjected to, because many of them, they don't believe.
I mean, people would push back and say, you know, that the statistics show that the vast, vast majority of sexual assaults in this country are not perpetrated by small boat migrants.
No, it's not true. First of all, we don't have the data based on ethnicity. And that's what we are asking to the Home Office. We want to see clearly this data. And second of all, we know the major data. So in 2020, we had only 7,000 rapes in England and Wales. And now we are skyrocketing at 73,000. So the fact is that either English, British, white male became all of a sudden sexual maniacs and abusers and are going around raping and gang raping children and women, or the cause is this mass migration.
OK,
and
Paola, Diana, we're going to have to leave it there, but really appreciate you coming on. That's the Executive Chair at the Women's Policy Centre, Paola. Diana, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. The time is 2:36 and Queen Elizabeth's ex-chaplain has criticised King Charles, claiming he has broken his coronation oath.
Yes, because Buckingham Palace has replaced the King's title as Defender of the Faith with Protector of the Space for Faith within the multi-faith nation. That's in this year's Sovereign Grant annual report.
Well, Gavin Ashenden served as Queen Elizabeth's chaplain for 9 years, but there's now claims that the King has repudiated the support and promotion of a Christian culture.
Well, we're joined now by social campaigner Rabbi Dr. Jonathan Roman, MBE. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Jonathan, for coming on the programme. And what do you speak to this? There's a lot of people getting in touch with us who are very deeply worried that the King isn't promoting Christianity as much as he should, as his traditional role, Defender of the Faith, dictates.
I think they're wrong. Remember, of course, that Defender of the Faith was a title given by the Pope, so it referred to the Catholic faith. So, you know, people have to... so a lot of people will be, we didn't actually mean that when we said Defender of the Faith, but that's actually where it came from. Now, I think that Gavin Ashenden, who actually did a very good job as chaplain, is slightly off the mark. I'll give you 3 reasons. Firstly, it's not an either-or situation. The King can and does uphold Christianity, and yet also respect others. He can do both at the same time. And there's no doubt that he's a Christian. He sees his role as a supreme head of the church as very serious, and he has personal faith. Secondly, he's not alone. Look at the other prime people within the church. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Sarah Mullally, most of the bishops, are very heavily into interfaith relations. They see it as a good thing, talking to their neighbour, their different faith neighbour. Sarah Mullally, the Archbishop of Canterbury, is of course president of the Council of Christians and Jews. And then thirdly, remember too, the King, that's also his title, King. He has a responsibility to be king of the whole of the country, the whole of Great Britain, the whole of the nation, not just one part of it. And I think he's won admiration, has he not, for the way he's been interested in all aspects of British life. And we want a king for all people, not just a limited section of the population.
Jonathan, when that terrible attack happened in Golders Green a few months ago by the Islamist extremists, I remember King Charles visited very, very quickly, within a matter of days or weeks, to show his support for the Jewish community in particular. For the Jewish community, how important was it to have the head of state, who is Supreme Governor of the Church of England, showing support for another religion?
Oh, it was very important, and on two levels. Firstly, for those people who were the victims, who potentially could have been victims, to have that personal support. But also, it was important because it gave a message to the rest of the country. This is not the way to do things. This is not the British approach. So it was a really very strong repudiation of all those who target Jews, or, I'm sure the King would say, who target any faith minority. I think that's why the King has widely been seen as doing a good job. And the other thing, of course, is that, the trend, the religious trend, is going in the opposite direction, having more contact rather than less contact. I mean, for instance, I've recently come back from Georgia, where they now have a synagogue, a church, and a mosque in the same building. Not for economic reasons, but as a deliberate message. There's one door to all three faith groups, and it says
I think there are a lot of Christian people in this country who are worried that their faith will just become one of many, and that it won't have a special status in this country, and the King is there to uphold it. So there's a tension there, a fear almost, a sort of emotional concern that the history of this country may well find itself undermined.
I think that would be a great shame, frankly, because there's no doubt this country is built on Christian roots. And we have a Christian culture. There are many people like myself who are not Christian, who, value Christian ceremonies, Christian architecture, Christian poetry, and have got no problem with that at all. It's not an either or.
Yeah.
But then, frankly, if people do object, they have to ask themselves.
I just hope everyone's as tolerant as you are, because unfortunately not everyone always is with their religions. But Rabbi Dr. Jonathan Roman, we'll have to leave it there because we've got to hear from Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister, who's just spoken in the last few minutes on a visit to the West Midlands. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I just wanted to come straight away. I spoke to the Mayor, Richard Parker, last night, and I was exchanging messages. I realised how serious it was when I saw some of the images. Utterly devastating for those people who are today out of their homes, who've lost everything. So I've met some of them and reassured them we will do everything we can to support them. But also wanted to show my appreciation to the Fire and Rescue Service here in the West Midlands, but also police and ambulance have been working together on the ground. They've done an incredible job. And bear in mind, we've got 37 incidents going on across the UK. 4 of them are major incidents in terms of wildfires. And there are thousands of firefighters out there in this heat doing back-breaking work. And I do want to recognise what they are doing and showing my appreciation to them. Beyond that, what I want to do is give a fuller update on the Cobra meeting that we held earlier in the week, because there were some conclusions that have now come into effect. Firstly, we have seen the military deploy 100 personnel initially to the major incident in South Wales, and we're very grateful to our colleagues in the Ministry of Defence for that. That support is critically needed. We have a system of mutual aid in play at the moment where fire and rescue services are supporting each other, but with so many incidents it is crucial that the military support is there if fire and rescue services can't do the same backup that they would normally be doing. So that is hugely appreciated. The second issue is around aerial firefighting capability, the planes that people might see in other countries. We have taken a decision to deploy nationally aerial firefighting support, so commissioned nationally, but that obviously wasn't available here, but it will be available elsewhere, and it would have made a difference. Thirdly, the Chancellor and the Community Secretary at my request are convening emergency financial support, a package of support for fire and rescue services that have been significantly affected. When it comes to the poor people who are in this dreadful position, we have been making sure that the insurance industry is ready to step up and support them. So the Exchequer Secretary has today met with the insurance industry, the ABPI, and we've had assurances back that there will be immediate support and people will be supported quickly, which is really welcome, and I hope of some reassurance to those who are out of their homes today. For councils, we've opened the Bellwyn scheme, which is a scheme they can access for support to pick up the wider costs of the incident. And again, the commitment is we will act quickly in relation to those claims. The temporary ban on barbecues, disposable barbecues, comes in today. All retailers will be receiving notification of that ban, and we ask them to obviously implement it in full until further notice when we can remove it. And then I would also want to say to the public, you can see what's happening. 37 significant fires across England and Wales. Please do not light an open fire, a bonfire of any kind. If you're disposing of a cigarette, take great care. This is obviously a really combustible situation, literally, and we need to respect that fact and make sure that no one is taking any risk, because you're taking risk with other people's homes, with other people's lives, if you act recklessly in this moment. The final thing is just to point to the wider issues related to the changing climate in which we are living. It's clear that the climate is changing. Everybody can see that, and we have to react accordingly. So I will convene in the summer, at the end of the summer, I should say, a summit with fire and rescue services to make sure they are properly resourced going forwards. We've lost firefighters in recent years. I know it as a former mayor, from a very grassroots level, some of the pressures on our fire and rescue services. I can't say today that we've done enough to fully resource them to deal with these type of incidents, and I want our firefighters to know that I understand how it seems from their point of view, and I'm going to convene that summit to make sure we get in place the right support, including the aerial support, permanently, if that is what they deem is needed. Obviously, there's other adjustments that we need to make in relation to climate change. We might be in for a wet autumn and winter straight after this because of El Nino and some of the issues there, which was reported to Cobra. So after fire could come floods. So we have to face up to the changing climate, and I think we need a different debate about that. There's no point denying where we are. We need to face up to it. We need more clean energy. We need to see that transition accelerate. Those are all of the issues that are now in discussion, but the Cobra meeting earlier this week I think has enabled us to mobilise resource today to individuals, to communities and to our fire and rescue services, and we're very, very grateful to them.
You've just been down to have a look at some of these properties that have been completely destroyed, others been severely damaged. What was your reaction looking at the smouldering ruins?
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I dealt with wildfires in Greater Manchester, but nothing on this scale. I've never seen scenes like this in Britain, where you just see a whole house gutted, smouldering. And I met one of the families whose house had gone up in that way. So you can imagine how distressing that is for them, and you feel for them. Their kids have had to go elsewhere. It's just unbelievably devastating for people in this position. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. I just wanted to show that we're on the ground. We understand how difficult this is for everybody, and we will put in place the support to help people get back to where they should be as soon as possible.
You've also been briefed by the Chief Fire Officer and you spoke to the crews here. Is there any indication as to how these fires, not just here but across the country, are starting? How culpable are individuals? These aren't all wildfires, are they?
So at this stage, the Chief Fire Officer has just said to us that there's no clear cause that can be identified at this moment in time. They can, I believe, identify our location where it began, which was in one of the surrounding fields, but at this stage, not a cause, and I don't think it's right for me to come and jump to any conclusion there. But I just reiterate the message to the public that I gave a moment ago. Please, everybody, take the greatest of care. In fact, don't light anything in an outdoor space right now. Britain is a tinderbox right now. And please just have that in your mind. We're going to go into the rest of a weekend that is a difficult weekend. This is not over by any means. We've got 37 fires smouldering around the country, so it could be more. So please bear that in mind at all times. And, you know, we've seen the reaction of the public here in Stourbridge. It's unbelievable, by the way. You know, the rescue centre, the things that they brought in. The public are brilliant. You know, people are great. You know, they come out and they support each other. Just that one person who doesn't think, you know, lets everybody down. Please don't do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Prime Minister.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
The Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, there speaking in Stourbridge. That, of course, next to the devastating fires or wildfires that have taken place, destroyed a number of houses. He confirms he's called in the military. He's announced a ban on disposable barbecues and warns smokers against the risk of igniting the tinderbox, as he describes it, that Britain is currently, and also reveals that he plans to commission firefighting planes, similar to what we see in the United States and indeed in Europe, to help combat wildfires throughout the country, which we don't currently have.
I mean, the scenes are absolutely dreadful. I can't imagine what it's like to see your own home going up in flames. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be more money for the fire and rescue services, because I know a lot of the firemen and firewomen, perhaps, have, well, some of them have had to go for treatment, haven't they, because of smoke inhalation.
Yes.
So presumably there's some help on that regard. In terms of making the insurance companies cough up, they seem to have had meetings with the industry. Yes, not a good day if you don't have home insurance, but I'm sure everyone does who's involved. But absolutely terrible situation. He says it's a combustible situation, literally.
Yes.
There you go.
And he said the country must face up to the changing climate and transition to more clean energy. 100 military personnel have been deployed to a blaze in South Wales for critically needed, what the Prime Minister describes, critically needed support. And he's also, as Emily was alluding to, convening a summit with firefighting services to acknowledge the insufficient funding to cope with climate change impacts, including potentially later floods in the year.
Well, this is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because for a long time, the government, successive governments, have told us that if we only sort of cut down on our carbon emissions here at home, that somehow we can affect the global temperature. Now it seems like more policymakers are thinking about how to mitigate. You know, if temperatures are going up, and if temperatures are going up, we're not going to be able to stop them just from the UK, where we're responsible for so little of carbon emissions as it is. So we've got to think about ways of managing the heat. And as you were saying, you know, aircon might be a good thing in terms of keeping our buildings safe. But strong sanctions on things like arson and people being absolute idiots with cigarettes and the like, well, that's a good move.
Yes, I think very, very strong sanctions and punishments for those who are deliberately starting these fires, if they are indeed doing so. But it really, really frustrates me that new builds in this country do not automatically have air conditioning when we know the climate is getting warmer.
Oh, have you morphed into Tom Harwood?
No, I have.
Cameron
Honestly,
Walker?
the building I do sound like Tom Harwood. I know, but the building regulations on new builds make it incredibly difficult for building management to put air conditioning in, due to partly because of climate change stuff and wanting to do more energy efficient heat pumps, but they don't really work when the temperatures are this high. And if this is going to be a consistently high temperatures every summer now, then to be honest, I think we need a change of tactics.
I mean, who knows? I mean, next summer could be just full of rain.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, last summer wasn't particularly great, was it? Overall, there were a few hot days, but mostly it was pretty dreary. But yeah, I mean, these scenes are absolutely shocking.
Yes.
And well, our hearts go out to those who have been affected.
Indeed, and we've had, of course, Jack Carson, our reporter there, speaking to residents who have been affected. The Prime Minister confirmed he'd spoken to one of the families who'd lost their home in the fire, who were clearly absolutely devastated in Stourbridge. Fires across the West Midlands, South Wales as well. And, of course, throughout the day here on GB News, we will be keeping you up to date on the latest developments of these wildfires and, indeed, the fallout from Nigel Farage and the Clacton by-election.
Oh, absolutely, we will. And, of course, course, those 2 arrests being made in Stoke-on-Trent over a fire there. See what happens with that one, whether they'll be charged with arson or not. Well, thank you very much indeed for watching Good Afternoon Britain. On that note, let's pass over to Martin Daubney.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. It is still hot and sunny in the southeast, albeit not as hot as yesterday. Elsewhere, slightly colder, fresher feel to things for sure. There's a front making its way southeastwards, albeit quite gradually and not bringing a huge amount of rain, but there is a bit more cloud mixed in because of that front that's making its way across the country. So many northern western parts of England and Wales having more cloud than yesterday, and towards the northwest there will be quite a bit of cloud as well. A few outbreaks of showery rain here and there, nothing especially heavy for the time being. As I mentioned, still hot in the southeast, but temperatures down markedly on yesterday. Nonetheless, highs of around 35, possibly 36 Celsius. Fresher feel elsewhere, especially with the cloud, less sunshine, so not feeling as hot. That's probably a good thing from many people's point of view. Into the evening, and a few showers continuing across parts of Scotland. Eastern areas, Aberdeenshire, could see some bright sunny weather perhaps, but elsewhere quite cloudy, a bit damp at times. A similar story across Northern Ireland, a few showers coming in, particularly across the west. And then across England and Wales, well, cloudier across northern and western parts. A few showery bursts of rain here and there for the time being, but actually as we go overnight and through the early hours of tomorrow morning, well, that's when we could see some fairly hefty showers developing across some parts of eastern England. Lincolnshire, East Anglia may be affecting London as well. They could be heavy, they could be thundery. Do watch out for some potentially fairly intense downpours. It is going to be a relatively warm night, not as oppressively warm as last night for many of us, but nonetheless, temperatures holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. And then tomorrow, still some showers across the southeast first thing, a few heavy ones perhaps, but they clear away, and most of the showers elsewhere will actually ease a little bit, albeit towards the northwest of Scotland. Some showery rain continuing to push in here. Cloudier towards the north and west, perhaps some parts in the southeast having cloud. Elsewhere, some bright sunny weather, but a fresher feel.